Alright guys, let's let this tutorial begin. So starting with step number 1, if you go to asknickfoy.com, this is my website where I teach blogging, email marketing, social media tips. And you're going to see this big blue button here if you're on the desktop. If you're on mobile, you'll have to click on the mobile menu drop down and it'll be down at the bottom of the menu options. Click on the Start a Successful Blog button. And that's going to open up my article I've written on how to start a WordPress blog. So this is a step-by-step article where you can find different links, different videos, and setup instructions to follow along with in addition to this video. So this first step is picking out website hosting. So let's go over how much a website costs typically to make. So you're going to have hosting, which I use Bluehost. They cost $3.95 a month. I believe at one time they were running a special where it was $2.95. Right now it's $3.95 if you use this link here, which we're going to be clicking in a minute. You can also go to asknickfoy.com/Bluehost. That's an affiliate link that I've partnered up with Bluehost. They're paying me a referral commission for referring you, but you're also getting a discounted rate and just being transparent that you're helping me out. It's at no extra cost to you. So $3.95 a month is what you're going to pay for web hosting. If you do the math, that's about $4 a month. That's about $48 a year. So about $50 or so, you can be running your website. WordPress is the platform we use to build the website. That is free. And then the theme I'm using is the Avada theme, and it is $60. It's a one-time fee, but there's lots of free themes out there you can also use. And then there's other cheaper, premium, professional-looking themes that you can find for $29, $39, $49. But mine is the Avada theme, and it is $60. So right there between hosting and your theme, you're at $110, and that's all you really need to spend on your website. And then every year, you'll have your hosting, which is, again, $4 a month. So your ongoing yearly expenses are probably $50 a year if you keep everything minimal. So we go into the pros and cons of using self-hosting, which is Bluehost, or using like a WordPress.com where they do the hosting for you. That's a free website. You don't have to pay for hosting. But there's a lot of cons that we recommend not doing a free website. Go ahead and do a self-hosted where you get your own hosting account and you actually pay the $4 a month. So you can read more on that. We're not going to get into that in this tutorial. Why you should run it on Bluehost, I go into some of the different pros here. So with Bluehost, if we can get down here, Bluehost makes it easy to create a WordPress website. Nowadays, as soon as you buy your hosting plan, you're going to see a page like this. It's going to redirect you to where it's your dashboard, and all you're going to do is click this log into WordPress button. It's already installed WordPress to your website for you. You no longer have to manually install and set up WordPress like you used to in the old days. So now it's already pre-installed. You just click the login button and it automatically takes you into your WordPress dashboard so you can begin customizing your website. So you get access to WordPress for free with a paid hosting plan. You also get a lot of technical support. So anytime I've needed to call up Bluehost, they've actually provided me more technical support than when I used another hosting company, which I'm not going to name names of the other hosting company to knock on them. But when I called them up, there were certain things they would not do that I was used to getting service from Bluehost. And so for right now, recently when I just had an issue with one of my websites and I called Bluehost, their amazing tech support always helps me out, and they go above and beyond, taking care of things for you. So you don't necessarily have to do the work. A lot of times the problems they'll fix for you. It's extremely affordable. Again, we talked about it's $3.95 a month. You also get a free blog domain, which is $15 in value. That's the annual fee. When you buy a domain name, it costs $15 a year to register, and then you have to renew it every year. So that's another cost I forgot to include. So you're looking at $50 for hosting, $15 for a domain name, so about $65 a year is what it's going to cost to run your website. But you get a free domain for the first year when you buy with Bluehost, but you have to sign up for at least 12 months of hosting to get access to this free domain name. WordPress, we mentioned, is free when you sign up with Bluehost, so you get access to WordPress for free, don't have to pay for it. You're self-hosted, which has many benefits. You can monetize on your blog, you can run ads. Your website's got access to a lot more features, a lot more plugins, which are like little pieces of code that add things to your website, kind of like apps on a smartphone. It's, look at your smartphone as like your WordPress, and then you download all these apps to be able to do things on your smartphone. Same with plugins. You download those, and now it adds all these features to your WordPress website. You're going to appear much more professional because you're going to have your own custom domain like asknickfoy.com. That's a lot better than if you used one of those free WordPress websites. It would say like asknickfoy.wordpress.com, and that URL is not very pretty, doesn't look professional. So if you have your own self-hosted website, you can have your own, custom domain URL. They also offer a money-back guarantee if you decide their plan is not for you. So here we go. We can go ahead and get started now. Again, just click any of these links in this article to take you over to Bluehost, or you can manually type in asknickfoy.com/Bluehost, and that's my affiliate link that will credit me for sending you to Bluehost, and it helps me out, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So click the Get Started Now button. It's this big green button. They also tell you the different features we just talked about, and then it's going to take you to their plans page, where you've got 3 different options. The basic plan is the $3.95 a month one. It's for one website. And then it tells you these different features. None of them really matter too much. You just care about the website number. So if basic, you get 1. If you're going to have more websites, then you might want to upgrade to the plus plan. You don't really need the prime plan. That is more advanced. But if right now it's the same price, you might as well, upgrade to the better plan, because you're going to get more features. But eventually it will renew at $14.99. So once your hosting plan comes up for renewal, whether that's 12 months, 24 months, or 36 months, you're going to have to pay the higher price. So keep that in mind. It will go up to $7.99. It will go up to $10.99. So try to buy a longer plan term. So like 3 years maybe instead of 1 year, because then after 1 year, your rate will still be the same. It won't, go up to that rate yet if you bought a 3-year plan. But if you only buy the 1-year plan, after your 1 year, it's going to go up to $7.99. So if you plan on having a website for a long time, try to, purchase a longer length term for your plan. So just click that Get Started button. It's going to ask you to sign up. So if you're going to pick out your free domain name, you just enter it here. If you already have a domain name, you'd enter it here. So in my case, I usually purchase third-party domains on Namecheap. So that is where I would type in a domain that I've already purchased over on Namecheap. And the reason for this is if I was ever going to move hosts like to a new company, then my domain would be on a third party anyway, so I wouldn't have to worry about transferring the domain. I could just redirect the servers, type in the new servers of the new hosting company, and that will point that domain to the new hosting company instead of having to worry about releasing the domain, because the domain would be owned kind of by Bluehost if you buy it through them, but I buy it through a third party called Namecheap. Now, another reason that happens, when you start your first website, of course you pick your new domain, but the reason I buy mine off of Namecheap is because I've got multiple websites. So I'm actually on Bluehost's, one of Bluehost's more advanced plans. So that allows me to have multiple websites. So I pay more per month than the $3.95 in order to get access to hosting multiple websites. Now, since you can only buy the one here and it costs more to buy through Bluehost, I found it's cheaper to go buy the other domains through Namecheap. They're usually $9 or $10 a year instead of $15. Not much difference in money there, but it adds up when you're buying lots of different domain names. All right, so enter in that information. So let's just say we are making up, well, I'll go ahead and type one in we're going to use today. So scratchgolfmanual.com. We'll go ahead and enter that one. Click the next button. Now it's going to say unable to continue. The domain Scratch Golf Menu currently belongs to an existing account. So this tells me I've already uploaded that domain to my Bluehost account. So that's why I'm getting the error there. So let's go ahead and type in a new one. So golfworkoutsfitness.com. We'll just pick some kind of random URL nobody should have. All right, so it's going to take you to the Create Your Account page. So you can sign in with Google if you want, but I would just recommend filling out these fields. So you're going to give your first name, your last name, optional if you want to give your business name, country, address, zip code, phone number, email address. Again, you can look for the little star symbol. It's going to tell you that your receipt is going to be sent to that email address. So if you are a business, you can print out that receipt and use this as a tax deduction as a business expense. Package information, this is where we talked about picking your term, 12 months, 24, 36. So the price differs at these different lengths. So you can even go up to a 5-year plan and lock in that $3.95 rate for 5 years if you're planning on having a long-term website. So it's going to tell you the hosting price once it calculates it. So 3 years at $3.95 is going to cost you $142. Again, we talked about that. It's going to cost roughly $48 a year. All right, setup is free. Primary domain registration, this is free. You get your one free domain. And then you're going to have domain privacy protection that's turned on. These are all checked. Site lock security, we can go ahead and turn off. There's actually a free plugin we'll download later called WordFence that you can install on your website that'll be security. You don't have to pay the $2 a month then. Code guard basic, we can turn off. We don't need that one. Now the domain privacy protection, that's 99 cents per month. So that's about $12 it's going to add on per year to your bill. So if you have the money and you want to spend it, you can have this. What it's going to do is it's just going to like anonymize your data so that a bunch of spammers out there that are looking to find your email address and things in your information, they're going to try to send you tons of emails. I get emails every day from SEO experts saying that they want to optimize my website for Google, and I get marketing emails all the time of how people want to grow my website traffic. And so these spammy emails, this will help cut down some of those by protecting your privacy and your information on your domain. Because there's ways people can look up domain and find different information on who registered that domain. So this will kind of like throw people off. It'll give fake data and kind of keep your stuff private. So that's going to give you a total down here. You don't need any of these. You don't need this SSL. You don't need the Bluehost tool. So that might be the only one you leave checked if you decide to. So total would be $154.08. So then you can enter in your credit card information, click submit, and that's when it's going to redirect you over here to your portal where you can check out, your WordPress site and start customizing it by clicking this login to WordPress. All right, so the next step before we go into WordPress, for those of you that do register a domain on a third-party account, for example, here I am inside of Namecheap. One thing you've got to do, because you've got a new hosting account that has hosting servers, so there's 2 servers that come with every hosting account. For Bluehost, it is ns1.bluehost.com. It's a subdomain. And then the second one is ns2.bluehost.com. So again, that's ns1.bluehost.com and ns2.bluehost.com. So you have to point your domain to your servers so that it knows, like when people click on your website URL, it knows what servers to direct them to and where to pull information. So you've got to point it to Bluehost. That's how you connect your domain. Now, when you buy one through Bluehost, it automatically is connected, but in this case, we have to manually connect it. So here I am under scratchgolfmanual.com, and then I would just click manage. All right, once I clicked manage, it's going to open up the management page here. So when we talked about buying that privacy on Bluehost, that's the same here on Namecheap. When you buy your domain name, you can buy what's called WhoisGuard protection. So that's an additional couple dollars, I think, is all they charge you for the year. And then it'll renew at the end of the year if you turn on auto renew. So that's the other way to protect your domain privacy information. If you're buying it like on a third party, you could see what theirs is called. In this case, it's called WhoisGuard. So I always buy that so that my data is, protected. Down here it says name servers. So we just click on this drop down, go down to custom DNS, type in the ns1.bluehost.com and the ns2.bluehost.com. Click save, and now that's all we need to do in Namecheap. So all we did over on Namecheap was buy the domain name. Then we came into our account, found that domain name, changed the servers to a custom DNS to point them at Bluehost, and that's all you got to worry about doing in Namecheap. All right, one final step for those of you that bought your domain on a third party. Once you've pointed the servers to Bluehost, you have to log into your Bluehost cPanel. So you can just go to bluehost.com, and there's a little login tab in the menu bar. You click on that, you sign in. Once you've signed in here, you're going to see a page similar to this. You can click on the cPanel link here in the menu. Then we need to scroll down here to where it says domains, and we're going to click on assign domains. Next, you're going to have to pick the domain information in step 1. So click use a domain that's not already associated with your account. So right now we're adding that domain name from that we bought over like on Namecheap to Bluehost. So I would type in scratchgolfmanual.com. Now again, I think I've already added this to my Bluehost account. So I'm going to walk you through what's going to happen. So as soon as I type this in, it's going to verify that you've pointed the servers to Bluehost. So that's why we did that step 1. So it's going to look at your domain name that you've registered with your third party, and it's going to look to see for those name servers to be pointing to Bluehost, which we've already done. Once it verifies that, that's step 2. It's going to verify ownership, that you own it. Then it's gonna go down here to step 3. You leave it as add-on, leave that checked. And then step 4, it's gonna wanna create a database directory for you in a subdomain. So you can just leave all this stuff as is because you want it to create a new one. So don't check use existing, just let it create a new one. Click assign this domain, and now your domain is actually added to your Bluehost account. So that's an extra step you gotta do if you try to buy through a third party rather than just buying it through Bluehost. And then the last step to actually install WordPress to that domain name. So what we've done so far is connected the domain name to Bluehost by pointing the name servers to Bluehost and adding it into your Bluehost account by doing the assign domain feature that we just walked you through. And then lastly here, we're going to use WordPress an install. So we would just click on the new install tab here, select the domain name from our Bluehost account now that it's been added into the account, and it'll begin installing WordPress to it. So there are some extra steps you have to go through when you purchase your domain on a third-party website, but it's not too complicated. Again, we just signed into that third party, pointed the hosting servers to Bluehost, then we logged into our Bluehost cPanel, added the domain to our account, and then we went into WordPress to install WordPress to that newly added domain. So now we're going to get into WordPress and we're going to start building out your website. So thank you so much for sticking through the tutorial, this part. That was step 1 or phase 1 where we were buying hosting, getting our domain all set up, and getting ready for phase 2 where I'm going to start showing you how to use WordPress and how to build out your website. Alright, so first, before we dive into buying a theme, I want to show you this Bluehost tab they've added recently to WordPress that wasn't here before. So under the Home tab, this is kind of your main dashboard where you can access lots of different things. So once your site is ready to launch, you just come here and click the launch button. Now content, you can manage everything from here. So your blog posts, your web pages, your navigation menu that shows up at the top of your website. And then if you sell products, you can install WooCommerce, which we'll get to shortly. Design and build, so we've got the customizer here if you want to pick out different themes for your website. Traffic and engagement, you can mess around with social media network stuff here. And then performance is how you make sure your website's optimized for speed so that it loads fast, so you can configure a page cache plugin, a CDN network, which I use Cloudflare, we can get to that later, and then Photon is their image resource they recommend to resize your images and serve them from a CDN so that it loads your pages faster. There's a couple other image plugins out there that will optimize your images for you because images make up a big amount of your file size on your website, and that can slow it down. And then all your hosting, so if you want to manage your different sites, you can click on the manage button. You can set up email accounts for your domain names. If I wanted to make like a support or an info at whatever your domain name is, domains if you're trying to manage different domains, and then the help button. So all these cool features here you can easily manage just from this one tab, but a lot of them are also down the side here in your WordPress bar. So later we'll get into adding new blog articles, adding images to your website, adding new pages. We'll go into how to control comments so that you can eliminate spam comments. Appearance is where you'd have themes, your menu, and your header area. So everything pretty much under that Bluehost Home tab is somewhere down here on the left-hand side, which we'll get into. So what we want to do is first start off adding a theme to our website. So again, you can go to Appearance, you can go to Themes, and you can add a free theme that they've got lots of different options for you. So here it comes with 3 of them by default, 2017, 2015, 2016. What I like to do is click on the theme details and delete these out because they take up extra space in your database, and it just adds to the overall file size of your website. So by deleting these, you're going to help get rid of unnecessary clutter. So this one we cannot delete yet because it's the only one that's left, but we'll come back and delete it later once we install another theme. You're also going to get a lot of notifications that pop up different times. A lot of times I just exit out of them to get rid of them. Alright, so we can search different themes that we've got installed here, but right now we only have one installed theme, so you don't have to worry about that. Now to add a new theme, we can just go to wordpress.org themes. It's going to load this page here where they've got a featured tab, a popular tab, the latest, or if you want to search themes. So if you wanted to type in like a business theme, you could type in business, and that's going to repopulate the page with a bunch of different themes that are for business. So you can scroll through here and look at all the different theme options there are. Again, these are free themes, if you don't want to spend money on a theme. But I recommend buying like a paid theme that's got a lot more features and a lot more things it can integrate with. So we're going to head over now to ThemeForest. So again, I'll have this linked below by this video. So if you go to asknickfoy.com/themeforest, that's an affiliate link that's going to direct you right over to ThemeForest. It's going to say that I referred you, so that I'm going to get credit for referring you if you end up buying a theme. Again, you don't have to. You can add a free theme here. But if you decide to use one of these premium themes that comes packed with all kinds of customization options and features, then you'd head over here to ThemeForest. So we're going to go into the WordPress tab to popular items, and you're going to see some of the most popular WordPress themes. So I currently use the Avada theme, and right now they're running a sale. It's $29, which is a sale they just started. Yesterday when I was making a video actually about the Avada theme, it was $60, and that's what I paid for, and that's what I mentioned earlier in this video. So right now they're actually running a $29 sale, which is kind of unusual for them. But if you happen to be watching this video, you could take advantage of that sale. Again, the Avada theme is the one I use. It's got lots of features, for advanced websites that you might not need if you're just making a basic website. So one thing to keep in mind, the more advanced themes that have way more features than you need, the slower potentially your website could run. So if you want a lighter theme that still has lots of features, the X theme I believe is faster than the Avada theme. So the X theme, it's always $29. They're not running a sale or anything right now. It's actually cheaper than the Avada theme, and I think it's more lightweight, meaning it carries less design options and features, which a lot of those you'll never use anyways. Like when the Avada theme, there's so many features I don't ever touch, and so that just adds to the file size of my website and kind of slows down my website. So the X theme is probably the better option if you're trying to look for a lighter theme that's not so geeked out with features. So what you do is you just click on one of these. So like for example, the Avada theme we'll click on, it's going to open up the page about that theme. So we can click scroll down and then live preview. You can click on that and check it out, do a little demo. And then here would be like a purchase button. Right now it just says support because I already own this theme. So you're just going to click on purchase. It's a one-time fee and you can use the theme on as many websites as you want. You don't have to buy separate licenses for every website. It's just you buy it once and you can use it on as many websites as you want. Now, once you've purchased it, you need to go into your account and download the zip file, and we're going to have to come over here into WordPress and click on this upload theme, and then you're going to choose the file from your computer and you're going to find that theme zip file. So I'm going to go ahead and download it out of my ThemeForest profile to my computer. I'm going to go ahead and upload it here by clicking choose file and getting it off my computer, and then we'll be ready to start installing it with the install now button. Alright, so here we are in the profile page where I can click download, and we want the installable WordPress file only. So we'll click on that, and it just downloaded that zip file to my computer. So now that I've uploaded it here to WordPress, we'll click install now, and it's going to load this page that says unpacking installing theme installed successfully. So to turn it on, we just click activate, and it will activate this theme, and it will deactivate the 2017 theme that came with WordPress by default, because only one theme can be activated at a time. So anytime you activate a new theme, it'll automatically deactivate your other theme that was already active. So again, once this activates, we can go back in now to the appearance tab. You don't have to necessarily do this step now, but at some point you want to come back under appearance to themes. It'll load open your theme page where you have both installed themes, and we can go ahead and click on theme details, click out the delete button, and get rid of that 2017 theme, so that now we've gotten rid of all clutter in our themes files and we only have the Avada theme. Alright, so the next step, we have to manage the installation of plugins. So when you buy the Avada theme, it comes with 2 plugins you have to run. Fusion Core, that's like the engine of the theme, and then the Fusion Builder is how we're going to actually build out custom pages. So click on the Go to Manage Plugins, and you're going to see them both right here. So we're just going to click on the Install. But before we can do that, we must register our theme. So it's going to give me a warning here, and it says please visit product registration. So up here you've got these different tabs: welcome, registration, and plugins, demos. So the registration tab right here, or in your WordPress menu along the left hand side here, we're under the Avada tab, and now it drops down all these different options here. So we could go to registration right here. So we'll just click on the registration tab. And then it wants us to enter in a token here. So all you got to do is click on this generate a personal token link. It's going to open up a new page in your browser where it's going to ask you, a bunch of different settings. You leave everything checked by default. Just scroll all the way down to the bottom, click, get my token or continue, and it's going to generate that token. We're going to copy it, paste it in here, and click submit. So I can't show you that step because it's a private token, but you are going to want to do that step. Just click this link, generate that token, come back here, submit it into this box here, click submit, and then make sure you also paste that token in a file on your computer to save it in case you ever need it. Okay, so now that the theme is registered, we're back here under the plugins tab. We'll click install on both of these to get them both installed, and then we'll be ready to start customizing all the settings of our website. So Avada has a bunch of different theme options where you can customize the master settings for the theme, and then you also have general WordPress settings down here under the settings tab that we're going to get into as well. So there's going to be two different sets of settings. One is all your different design customization settings for your website using the Avada settings, and then your general WordPress settings we'll get into in a minute under the settings tab. So now both those have been installed. We'll click return to the required plugins installer, and that's going to take us back here to this list of plugins. So I'm going to show you some of these other plugins that you can also install if you want. They've got white label branding, which is a new premium theme. Convert Plus is like one for getting people to your email. These I've never installed and used. ACF Pro I've never messed with either. Layer Slider you don't need. It already comes with one right here called Fusion Builder and Fusion Slider. So Fusion Slider is where you can add slides if you're trying to make kind of like a slider at the top of your website. So that's kind of the same thing as these slider plugins. Now WooCommerce we'll go ahead and install right now since it's here. So this is going to be what we use to set up our store. It's basically like a shopping cart plugin. So later on when we get into it, you're gonna find like the little WooCommerce tab in your WordPress menu over here, and there's going to be like an add product option where you can start adding different products to your store. Alright, so after you click install, it's going to redirect you here to the store setup page. So we'll go ahead and set up the different settings for the WooCommerce plugin now so we can kind of get our store partially set up, and then we'll come back to it later in this video. So you just pick where your store is based, enter in an address, pick your currency, and then let them know what types of products you plan to sell. So if you're a physical product store where you're going to ship things to people, or do you sell digital products where they can just download them after purchasing? If you're going to sell both, you could type I plan to sell both. Then we're going to click on this Let's Go button and move on to step 2. Alright, step 2 is the payment tab. So WooCommerce can accept both online and offline payments. Additional payments can be installed later. So by default, it has Stripe and PayPal checked. So these are the two I use for my business to collect payments. So I'm going to go ahead and leave both those turned on. If you don't have a Stripe account or a PayPal account, you can go ahead and check mark this box and you can create a new account, I believe, right here using these steps. Collect payments from customers offline. So this drop-down tab is going to give you options for how you can collect offline payments, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just an online digital business. I'm only going to accept payment through Stripe and PayPal. So we'll click continue. Alright, recommended extras, automated taxes powered by WooCommerce services. Automatically calculate and charge the correct rate of tax for each time a customer checks out. If toggled on, WooCommerce services and Jetpack will be installed and activated for you. We're going to leave this off for now. I usually do not charge a tax, but I think there's a setting later if you want to add like your own custom tax where you could charge 6 or 7% sales tax. It's going to ask you to connect your store to Jetpack to enable extra features. Personally, I've had issues with the Jetpack plugin. It causes problems with some other plugins I've had installed on my website, causing my website to have errors. So I typically never install the Jetpack plugin, but you can learn more about it and make that decision if you want to use the Jetpack. So we're going to click skip this step down here. Alright, the next step is it says you're ready to start selling. It's going to ask if you want product updates and different email lessons. So they're going to send you emails if you decide to give them your email address. If you want to create your first product, you can create a product button. Import products if you've got an existing store, you can import. So we're just going to click return to dashboard. Later I'll show you how to go in and add products to your WooCommerce store. Alright, so it brings me back here to my WordPress dashboard, to the home tab here. So this is kind of like earlier. This one's by default in your WordPress account. We just haven't got to it yet. We talked about the Bluehost home tab earlier, so now your WordPress dashboard home tab is kind of the same thing. It's got just a bunch of different summaries here. So you can see at a glance how many posts, how many pages your website has, recent activity. You can see some WooCommerce stuff here, your stats about your store. So it's kind of just a summary page again, kind of like we talked about earlier with your Bluehost account. So we'll go ahead and click exit out of this. We'll exit out of all these notifications. It's just letting me know that now that we installed WooCommerce that we need to set up our Stripe account. Alright, so at this point we've now installed our theme, which is the Avada theme. And we've downloaded those or installed those 2 recommended plugins that are required to run the Avada theme. And then we went ahead and installed the WooCommerce plugin so that we can start building out our store. So here's the WooCommerce tab. If you come down here, it's under FAQs, kind of down here. So these 2 came together, WooCommerce and products. So the WooCommerce tab here is where you can manage your orders. If you ever need to look into an order of somebody, if you need to approve orders, decline orders, refund somebody, you just do that under orders. If you want to set up coupons for your store, you can come here to the coupons tab. If you want to look at monthly reports like sales volume and things like that, sometimes I log in, look at my reports to see for the past 7 days, the past month, the past year, what my sales numbers are. Settings, to customize your WooCommerce settings, we go here into settings, status, and extensions. You don't have to worry about extensions, is where they try to sell you a bunch of add-ons or you're going to have to pay money. So we'll go ahead into settings in a moment. There's also the products tab. That's where you click on add a new product and you can start adding in different products. So if I was going to add, like a golf training program to this website, Scratch Golf Manual, or I was going to add different ebooks or different worksheets that I wanted to sell, we would just create new products for each of those. You can tag and categorize your products as well, so that if you want to set up a menu bar on your website that has different products by category, you can, give your products different categories. That way people can find things a lot easier. So like if you run a big, let's say, clothing store, you could set up t-shirts, pants, socks, hats, all the different clothing items, and categorize products into those different categories. Attributes, we can get into that as well. So WooCommerce, products, these 2 go together now that you've installed the WooCommerce plugin. So let's go ahead now and build out your home page that somebody would come to. Alright, so I feel like before we start building out your actual store, we should first knock out the settings part of your WordPress site. So whether you're running a store or just running a normal website, it doesn't really matter. These settings are just general settings that come with WordPress that everybody has to go through. So go down here to the settings tab and we're going to click on general first. So I'll open that in a new tab. Next, we're going to go into the writing, and then we're going to go into the reading. And then we'll go into discussion. They've got media settings for your images. And then lastly, permalinks. This is like your link structure, how your links show up in people's browsers. So first off, let's go into the general tab. Alright, so opening up your general settings, your site title, you can give it a new title. You can give it a tagline. Your tagline typically doesn't show up because a lot of times people use logos in their menu header area instead of a tagline and site title. You want to make sure your WordPress URL is set to your website URL. Sometimes if you set up your hosting account, it'll have like a box.temporary URL here, and you have to delete that out and paste in your actual URL that you want to use your website. So this one's right. It says scratchgolfmanual.com, scratchgolfmanual.com. You want to make sure this says HTTP. I don't think you want it to say HTTPS yet, because that's like a secured link. You just want the basic HTTP one. Then as we scroll down here, you'll see your email address here for your admin purposes. Make sure you type in your email address. It should automatically be there by default. Membership, if you can allow anyone to register on your site, you can check this. I'm going to go ahead and leave it off because I don't need people to be registering on this site for any specific roles. If they were going to register, they could become an author, an editor, a contributor. You're automatically an admin by default, but if you wanted to allow somebody else to be an admin, you could add them in as an admin. So there's different roles people can take. That's under the users tab here. If you ever want to add someone else to your site, so you want to add a business partner and make them an admin as well. So new user default role, typically if you were going to allow people to register, you would just have that set as a subscriber. For example, if people were reading your website and they wanted to, register as a subscriber to your website, but we're just going to leave that unchecked. We really don't need anybody registering for this website. If we want to add admins or something, that's done separately over here in the users tab. English, you could set your time zone, date format, time format, what day the week starts on. Leave this cache level at normal, level 2 by default. And then Bluehost auto update, we can allow that to stay on for themes, plugins, translations. Right now, a Bluehost coming soon page is enabled, so make sure you remember that it's turned on. So when you're ready to launch your site live, you'll need to come back here under General and turn it off, and that'll allow your home page to start being visible to people that come to your website. So click Save Changes, and that'll update everything. All right, next we're in the writing settings. So go back under Settings, underneath General, you'll find Writing. So default post category. So every time you publish a blog article, you can have it automatically categorized to a default category. So right now it's uncategorized because we don't have any categories set up. If we want to set up a category, we go here to Posts. We go down here to Categories. We'll open up that page. So for example, I have different categories. Like on this golf website, I might type in, the golf swing. That could be one category. It'll automatically generate a slug based on the name. So it'll type in golf-swing. But if you want to customize the slug, you could put your own slug in there. Parent category, if you want to make your URL structure, more advanced and have multiple slashes. So like this says scratchgolfmanual.com/wp-admin/edit-tags. So like this would be the parent category, WP admin, and then the other category, edit tags, shows up. So if I wanted to call this parent category golf, mine would say scratchgolfmanual.com/golf swing. That would be then the other category up here that I'm typing in, but we don't care about parent categories. So then description, you can give it a description, but we don't need to do anything else. We can just scroll down here and click add new category. And now we're going to have a category for our blog articles called golf swing. I can make one for chipping, for putting, mental game, any different category I think golfers would be interested in. All right, so it's added that category here, and then we can go ahead. By default, there's the uncategorized tab. There's no way to delete it, but we can go back in here now to our writing settings, and we can refresh the page. So if I wanted to create, let's say, a category called recent posts that all my blog posts go under, that could be a default category. So in this case, I could set it to golf swing if I wanted that to be a default category. But this one you may not end up really needing, because every time you write a blog article, you can set which categories you want it to go under, and you can uncheck any of them that you don't. So don't worry about that yet. Default post format, leave standard. Mail server, if you're going to post to your blog via email, you can update the settings here. I've always just logged into my WordPress account and posted manually, and then it automatically has this ping here, so we can click Save Changes, and it'll update those changes. Next, let's go into the Reading tab. So the Reading tab is how your website displays to people. So like your home page right now is set to display your latest blog articles. We want it to be set to a static page, so we're going to create our own custom home page. And then we're going to have a separate page called blog that people can click on to look at all of our blog articles. So that's what we're going to set here. So what we need to do is go under pages, and we'll go to all pages. All right, by default, you're going to see cart, checkout, my account, and shop. These are 4 pages that got installed by default when you installed the WooCommerce plugin. So if you're running a store, it's got to have these pages. I mean, they're crucial to running your store. So when people, land on your shop page, that's kind of like your home page for your shop if you decide to use it. Then later, they can go into their account settings. Once they click on add product to cart, they can get taken to a cart page. And then when they're ready to check out, they can proceed to the checkout page. There's also the sample page here. We'll go ahead and trash it. It comes installed with your WordPress website to kind of show you a demo sample page, but we don't need it. So we're just going to hit the trash button there. Now what we need to do is click add new if you decide you want a new home page. So if we're going to create our own custom home page, instead of using this one that says shop, But in this case, we might set the shop page as our home page if we're running like an e-commerce store. So we can go ahead and just click the edit button there to start editing the shop page. But what we got to do is click on add new, and we're going to create a blog post page so that we can set the post page to the blog page. Alright, so we're going to give it a title called blog. If you want to call it blog post, whatever, you can do that. When you click publish, it's going to automatically generate a link right underneath the title box. So you can check that link and make sure it's what you want it to be. So right now it's set to http://scratchgolfmanual.com/blog. If you want that link to say something else, you can click the edit button and customize it. But we're just going to leave it at that so that it's simple. They know that that's, the page for the blog. So whenever you're trying to remember what your link is to your blog page, you can manually just type in this link on any other page you're trying to link, over to your blog page. So we'll go ahead and click exit. We no longer need this page. You don't have to edit that page ever because it's just going to automatically fill up with all your latest blog articles. So back here in the readings page, we need to refresh now that we've created that new page. And then what we're going to do is set this home page as the shop, and we're going to set the post page as the blog page. All right, so click static, home page, shop, and then post page, drop down, pick blog. Blog pages to show at most 10, syndication feed 10, we'll leave that by default. For each article in a feed, show the full text, we'll leave that. Search engine visibility, make sure this is unchecked. If it's checked, it's going to discourage search engines from indexing the site. You don't want that to happen. You want your website to be indexed by search engines. That way it's going to get found by people searching Google, searching Yahoo, Bing, and that's how you're going to get traffic to your website. People are going to find you on the search engines. So you want to make sure that's unchecked. We'll click Save Changes, and that's all for the Reading tab. So next we can go into the discussion settings. This is for your comments. So people leaving comments on your pages, on your articles. You can come in here and customize all the different settings, how to block people, how to prevent spam, different words you want to blacklist. So if anybody types them into their comments, if you want to keep it G-rated, PG-rated, show avatars, default avatars when people sign up on your website to post a comment. So you can look through all the discussion settings and customize them as you like. And then next we got media. So when you upload media to your media library, there's one here underneath post called media. You can click on library, or add new would take you to the image upload page where you can upload an image into your library. So these are your different default media settings. So when you upload an image into your media library, it might be, 5,000 pixels by 3,000 pixels, which would be a very large image. And the file size would probably be very large as well. Now, if you want to add it into your web page, let's say is like a small little square photo, you could pick one of these default custom sizes to add it to your page. So if you want to set it as a thumbnail size, a medium sized image, or a large size image, or you can select the full size option when importing it into a page, but that would make it show up full size, so it would be, a massive image. So to shrink it down, you could just click on, you want it to be a medium image, and it would turn it into a medium image. So here under media settings, this is where you can choose what sizes you want these different images to be. So by default, these are the settings they have. You can decide to leave them as is, or you can come in here and customize them the way you want them. So if you want to make medium images a little bigger, you could make them by default 400 by 400 or 500 by 500. And then click Save Changes, and now your media settings are set up. So anytime you upload an image and you decide you want it to be a medium image, it'll automatically shrink it down to whatever size you have in your settings here. Lastly, we've got the permalink settings. These are super important. So it starts you out day and name. That's not a bad one if you want to leave it like that. I just prefer to get rid of the date in the link to make the links simpler. So I just click on post name. That way it'll say, scratchgolfmanual.com, and then whatever the title of your page or post is. So like our home page, our blog page, it'll just say /blog/home. If we make an article called best swing tips, it would say scratchgolfmanual.com/best-swing-tips, or we could cut out the dashes and make it all one word. But it gets rid of the date, so it makes your links a lot simpler. So that's the one I prefer. So we're going to click on post name, and then we can go ahead and scroll down here and click Save Changes. Now here's the product permalinks. So when you've got your WooCommerce store, your different product links, they're going to be by default, they're going to have the word product mixed into the link. So it's going to look kind of like this: http scratchgolfmanual.com/shop/product, and then it's going to have a slash, and it's going to end up having your product name or whatever. So you can go ahead and click here on the custom default one if you want it to be that. So this is what it would look like up here on default: scratchgolfmanual.com/product, and then whatever the name of your product page is, it would paste that in. So that's important to have kind of the little product category here separating these two, so that you don't mix it up with like a normal page on your website. Whenever you see a link like this that has the product link, you at least know it's going to take them to a product page. So I would just leave it here, custom base, and it's already got the word product in it. I would just leave it as is. So just click Save Changes, and you are done now with the general, the writing, the reading, the discussion, the media, and the permalink settings. We've covered all 6 of these, and we've got our WordPress settings all set up. Lastly, what you can do is go here under Users, go to your profile, customize your profile, give yourself a name, type in your first, your last name, set what your display name is. So up here it says Howdy Nick Foy up here in the right corner. It's got my little profile avatar I've custom set. It's a picture of me. So you can set up all that here in your users, in your profile. You can give yourself a little author bio, so that at the end of every blog article or every product page, it has like a little author bio that, you know, Nick Foy is a writer here at scratchgolfmanual.com, and I could share some interesting facts in my bio about me. So that's the settings and the users, setting up your profile. Now that that's all done, we are ready for kind of phase 3, which is getting your store and your theme settings all set up. All right, so let's go ahead and start setting up some different products, and then we're going to add them to your home page, so that when people land on your store, on the home page, they can see all your different products that you're selling. So we're going to come down here to add products, go to add new. For product name, in this case, since I'm running a golf website, I might sell a product like the Breaking 70 program. So we're going to give that the product name. Now you have a long description box here, which is going to show up later on down near the bottom half of the product page. And then if we scroll here, there's a little middle section. That's where we're going to set prices and things. And then we've got this down here called the short description. So this will show up at the top of the page next to the product image. So if we wanted to type in, you know, our step-by-step training program to teach you how to break 70 in golf, download our practice drills, routines, and worksheets, get started improving your golf scores today. So that could be our short description we type in there. Come back up here. It's a virtual product that they're buying, so we'll check that. If it's a physical product, you can leave it unchecked, and it's gonna add the shipping column here for where they're gonna ship to. But since ours is virtual, we want to check virtual. Another reason you want to check virtual if you're not selling physical products is it will get rid of the shipping on the checkout page, because it's going to ask them to enter their address and all their personal information, but you don't want to collect any of that if you're not selling, you know, physical products. So by checking virtual, that gets rid of that whole shipping column. Plus it gets rid of the shipping checkout options, so they don't have to worry about filling out those fields at the checkout page. So let's say we're going to sell this for $99. If we want to sell it right now on sale, you know, we could sell it for $75. So that's the sale price. Inventory, we don't have to worry about it, but if you want to give it an SKU number, you can do that. Linked products, if you're trying to upsell or cross-sell, I could add other products here. So on the product page, when they scroll down to like the cart button, there will be a bunch of other products that show up to kind of try to get them to buy more products in addition to this one. So like if I was a clothing website and they're getting ready to buy a shirt, underneath that shirt, underneath that product page, there might be 5 other shirts. I know you've probably seen this on Amazon. Amazon recommends like 10 other products to you when you're getting ready to buy one product. So that's called like an upsell or a cross-sell. Attributes, if you want to give it an attribute. And then advanced, we can send them, you know, a little purchase note. We can choose the menu order, how the product shows up on a page. So if we've got 6 different products and I want one to show up first and then the next one second, third, we can update the menu order by giving this like number 1. Then if I create a second product, I would put in menu order 2 for that product. All right, so those are the description boxes. Again, the long description that goes down near the bottom of the page, and then the one that shows up next to the image right here in the short. We've priced it. We've added our purchase note, selected what order we want this product to show up on the page. So like on our home page here, we want this one to show up first, and we've checked the virtual so it gets rid of all the shipping. And then we've got simple product if you group it, external, affiliate. If you're going to link out to like an affiliate product, if you're running an affiliate store, you could check this, and then it would be a place to add your affiliate link if you're taking them over to like Amazon. So we're going to leave it as simple. Now product tags, we're going to type in, let's call this like a practice program. And then if I create like ebooks, worksheets, I could create tags for, ebooks and worksheets. So we can click to add there. Categories, again, I could do the same thing, call this practice programs. That's a default category. We can do add new. So we'll click on add new. We'll type in ebooks. And then if we want to do like a worksheets category, we can add a worksheets category. So these might be some different types of products I decide to sell on my WooCommerce store. Now for this product, it's not a worksheet or ebook, it's just a practice program, so I'll leave that checked. If you want to give it a parent category, but we're not going to do that. And then right here, you can add in your photos, so you could set your featured product image, and you could add in additional photos if you want to create a gallery. So if you've got like a t-shirt you're selling and there's different models wearing it, you could add in multiple photos. For this, since it's a digital product, I create my photos over here on Canva. So I've logged into canva.com, it's free. I might pick a square image to show up as my product image. Usually it comes as a square image. So I'm going to pick the square template, which is just an Instagram post template. I'm going to come here to the Uploads tab. I like to do the computer screen look for my programs. Now if you're doing like a t-shirt or something, you would upload a person wearing a t-shirt. You might make it in Photoshop and then have like a cutout person that you upload into here. Then we can choose a background color, so we could do like a light gray, and then I could change that. So we could scale it here, make it a little bit lighter. And then we'll go here to text, and I can give it some text. So I pre-uploaded an image of the computer screen into my media folder here, added it in here to the page, gave it a background, and now we're going to call this the Breaking 70 program. And then you can customize the font and color and all that here. So if we want to make it light blue, we want to make it bigger, we can change the font. So I might use like Cooper's. And then let's go up a little bit bigger. We'll go 64. Then if you want to change the spacing, we can make the line height come a little closer so it's not so much of a gap between the two words. And then lastly, I might change the color again, make it a little darker. So that looks pretty good. Then we come up here, give it a title, so it automatically called it Breaking 70 Program. That's the image name. We'll click File, and we'll click Save to save our image so all our changes are saved. Then I'm just going to click Download here. I want it to be a PNG. Click Download, and it's going to download it to my computer. And now I can come back in here to my product page, and I can click on the Set Product Image. So we'll go in here, it's going to open the uploader tool. So we'll click on Select Files, find it here in my Downloads folder, click Open. Now once this opens, we're going to need to pick the image size that we want it to show up, because by default it's the image that I just downloaded. If we go here under File, you can see the size is 1080 pixels by 1080 pixels. So again, earlier we talked about if I wanted to set it as a medium size, it would automatically be 300 by 300 when we set up our media settings. So it tells you here it's 1080, 1080. If I want to edit it and scale it down, I can edit the image there and scale it down. So this one, it doesn't give me the option of choosing what image size I want. It doesn't. Normally there's a bar here that says full size, and I can click on it and choose I want medium or I want large, but it's just going to import it like this. So we'll see if it scales it down for me. If it doesn't, I'll have to come back in here and go to edit image, and I'll have to shrink this down to 800 or 700 by 700, something a little smaller. So give it a minute and it'll load here. Once it's loaded, we can go ahead and save the page. All right, so we'll scroll up here now and click publish. If you're not ready to publish the product live to your store, you could save it as a draft. If we want to preview it, we can click the preview tab and it'll open up a little generated preview. All right, so what I'm always looking for when I do my product pages is I want the image to show up here on the left like that. And then we want to check the image size. So it made it a really big image here. So we could try scaling down the image like I mentioned, and it might shrink this down. We'll experiment with that. Here we've got the title of the product. It shows the original price. Now it shows the sale price. And then it's got our short description. And then we've got the quantity box here, and it says add to cart, so that they can go ahead and add it to their cart. And then if they scroll down here, this is where you would see the longer description if we would have entered one. But since we didn't enter one, it's blank. And then there's the reviews box here. Now, the way this page looks, we've got a title bar here, the way all this font looks, the sizes, the types of font. All of this can be customized in our Avada theme settings so that, things look a little nicer. I mean, I'm not really a fan of the way the fonts and stuff look, so we can customize that stuff shortly once we get into the theme options settings for the Avada theme. Same with creating a logo up here, a menu bar. We can customize all that later in the Avada settings. All right, so that's our first product. And then what we're going to do is if we go out here to our home page, so we'll just click on the logo. That often takes you back to a website's home page. So you're going to see it says no products were found matching your selection. So the shop page is our home page, and there should be products showing up here. So let's go ahead and click on the edit page button and see if there's any way we can turn on settings to get our products showing. So the first, real quick, the reason I think that it's not showing is we never ended up hitting publish. I only clicked on the preview button. So once we actually publish our first product, it should start showing up on our home page. All right, so let's head back out here now and click refresh, and there it is. So that's our product. So it's just a box right here. For some reason, it's not showing a featured image. So we're gonna have to go into our settings. So back here under WooCommerce. Now, what we've done so far is we were under the products tab. Just to catch you up, we went under products to add new. And we came here, gave it a title, gave it a description, a price, categorized it, set the menu order, gave it an image. So this is a completed product that we've now added to our store. All right, now what we need to do next is go in and start customizing our store settings. So we can go under WooCommerce, go to settings. So the WooCommerce settings, this is where you can, customize the general settings, your product settings, shipping, checkout, accounts, emails, APIs. So right here, it's going to have all your store address information. Then next, it's got general options. You're selling to all countries, shipping to all countries. It can geolocate. You can enable taxes if you want to set up taxes. Check to make sure your currency's right. The position, the 1000 separator. So all these default changes, everything in the general tab you can pretty much leave unless you see anything you need to edit. So click Save Changes. Next, we're going to go under the Products tab. So by default, the shop page is set to shop. We've got add cart behavior, so it can redirect to the cart page after a successful addition. So what that means is when they were on our product page and they clicked the add to cart button, it could just redirect them automatically to the cart page after they added it to their cart. Otherwise, you can leave it unchecked and it'll just keep them there on the product page, and then they can go back to like the home page and look at the next product. A lot of times I like to check this so that it keeps them moving forward. So as soon as they add the product to the cart, they automatically takes them, to their cart page so they can get closer to checking out. But if you've got a website, that like sells clothes again, for example, they might buy multiple clothes in one session. So you may choose to leave this unchecked so they can keep shopping for, more products. Measurements, you can leave these by default. Enable reviews. If you want people to be allowed to give you, a 5-star review and leave a comment, you can check this stuff. Show verified owner label on customer reviews. And then you can check if you want reviews only by verified owners. That way nobody random can, leave a review. So I might check that so that only people who purchased products can actually leave a review. And then you can choose to enable the star rating. Star rating should be required, not optional. If you want to make it required, they give you a 4 or 5 or 3-star. And then click Save Changes to update those settings. All right, this little note pops up here. It says looking for product display options. They can be found in the customizer. We'll go ahead and upload that tab so it can get going. So we just did the general settings under products. There's also inventory. If you're running an inventory store, you can customize that. Downloadable products is what I'm doing with digital products. So we'll click on the downloadable products page. So file download method, force downloads. So as soon as they purchase, I believe you can make them so that it forces the download. Access restriction. Downloads require a login. This setting does not apply to guest purchases. Grant access after payment. So everything here you can just leave default as is. All right, we'll go ahead and open up the shipping tab. Now while that's loading, let's go back here to this product display option. So here we are in the customizer, and it's showing the product display. So store notice. So the store notice tab, if enabled, it will be shown site-wide. You can use it to show events or promotions. So if we want to, we could, type in like, hey, we're running a coupon or we're running a sale right now, and it'll get shown. And you just click on the checkbox here to enable that notice so that people that come to your website will start seeing, a notice. So we'll go ahead and click publish. So here's what it looks like. It'll be up here at the top of your store. So it's this little banner that runs across the page, and then they can click dismiss to get rid of the banner when they no longer want to see it. So that's a cool feature that allows you, again, to let people know sales or promotions you're running. So we'll click the back button. Product catalog, shop page display, show products. That's what it's doing here. And then we've got category display. If they go to a category page, that shows products. Default product sorting, custom ordering, and name. So you can choose if you want to have your products, in the menu earlier we set the order. We wanted this one to show up first. We could choose another one to show up second, or you can do it by these. So by rating, by popularity, most recent, price. You could choose other ways to show your products on a page to sort them. So that looks good. And I do see now that on our home page that image came back. So it is showing an image next to the information. Earlier it was just showing this box, so it must not have fully loaded the page yet. But we do want to make sure that your image looks good here. So again, that's why I went with the square image, because I think it looks best overall on the product page and out here on our shop home page. All right, so that was the products, the general. Next we're on shipping. So again, if you're selling, physical products, then you're going to set up different shipping zones, but we're going to skip that because we don't have to worry about it. Let's go on to checkout now, where we can start messing with PayPal and Stripe settings. All right, so number one, checkout options. This is your general checkout settings. If you want to allow coupons, you can enable them. You can calculate coupon discounts sequentially. So if they're going to apply multiple coupons, it'll apply the first coupon first, and then the second coupon will go on top of that discounted price. So it's kind of an advanced setting for coupons. Checkout process, if you want to allow guest checkouts. Force secure checkout. If you want to force an SSL certificate, you're going to need to have one installed on your website. So most hosting companies come with SSL certificates now. Customers like to see that little HTTPS. It's a little green link up here in the link bar that shows the website's been secured, so they know when they're entering their credit card information that it's secured, and they can't really get their information stolen necessarily. So that would be kind of what that setting is. And then again, if you want to allow guests to check out, otherwise you can uncheck this and it'll force people to kind of sign up and create an account if you're not going to allow guest checkouts. Checkout pages, by default, cart page should say cart, checkout page, checkout. But if you want to create your own custom pages, you could do that and then add them in here as your cart page and your checkout page. Terms and conditions page, if you have a terms and conditions letter that people are supposed to read before they buy your products, you could set that up here. Checkout endpoints. So these you just leave kind of by default. So these are kind of little link URLs that get added in. So once they check out, pages redirect and it'll say, order received once they receive the order. So we can just leave those as is. If you have all of these options enabled, which right now we've only got PayPal and Stripe enabled here, you can see the two check marks, then you can choose the order. So for example, I might choose, PayPal to show up first as my first option. So we'll click on this and try to drag it up here to the top. And then we want Stripe to be next. So on my store, when they land on the checkout page, they'll first see PayPal as an option, and then right below it, they'll see Stripe as an option. The rest of these will not show up because they're not enabled, but if I decided to turn them on, they would also show up. So if you were gonna, for example, accept Bitcoin as a payment option, you could, choose Bitcoin. And then they've got the difference here, PayPal Express versus PayPal. You can choose whether you want, regular PayPal or PayPal Express. So we'll go ahead and click Save Changes, and then we'll get into the actual PayPal and Stripe settings next. So up here, checkout options, you see all the different ways to collect payments. So we've got PayPal Express checkout here. We've got the Stripe settings here. So we'll go ahead and click on Stripe. All right, enable, disable. So right now Stripe's enabled. So again, you could go into each of these different settings for each of the different payment processors and turn them on or off. So right now this is checked to enable Stripe. We've got the credit card. That's the title. So this is kind of a box that'll show up on the checkout page, letting people know they have to pay with their credit card. Now, currently it's in test mode, so you would uncheck this to turn off test mode. Now, you're going to need to paste in some different API keys. Stripe will process the payments because you're going to have a third-party Stripe account and you're going to need to connect it. So go ahead and check mark this one that says Stripe checkout, enable Stripe checkout. And then one other setting here is inline credit card form. If you check this, it'll actually put a credit card form on the checkout page. Again, you should have an SSL certificate if you're going to do that. And that'll allow them to just enter their information right there on your website. And then once they click the checkout purchase button, it'll automatically process their payment through Stripe, but it'll keep them on your website. Whereas unchecking this, I believe, means that it'll take them over to Stripe where they can check out, and then it'll redirect them back to your website. And that's what PayPal does as well. PayPal will take them over to PayPal's website where they can sign in, buy the product, and then it'll redirect them back to your website. So that's the Stripe one. We can go back over here to PayPal Express checkout. So you want to make sure that's enabled. You want to make sure it's set to live. If you're going to have it in test, you can turn it to sandbox mode if you're testing it. And then you're going to need to link your PayPal account with the API credentials. So there's actually documents, support documents PayPal has. There's also video tutorials that'll show you step by step how to find your API keys in your PayPal account and then how to link them over here into WooCommerce. So we're going to save that, for another video. You can look those up on your own. It's not too hard. You just, quickly click these links and you can add in your API keys, and then you'll come down here and click save, and that will have your PayPal account connected. And then you can look through these other settings as well. If you want to give, custom branding, a certain landing page they land on. Once they buy the product, you can set, what page they get redirected back to. If you want to put the form on your website, I think there's a setting for that so they don't get redirected out to PayPal. They actually stay on your website and they can fill out a credit card form on your checkout page. So mess around with those settings, and that completes the checkouts page. Let's go ahead now to the accounts tab. All right, so by default, the My Account page is set as the My Account page, so they can check out their billing, all their products they can download, just different things like that. Enable customer registration. So when they get to the checkout page, they're required, to register as a customer, where they have to put their name in, their email. They can create a password so that they can log back into their account page. So display returning customer login reminder on the checkout page. So if they've already registered and bought on your site before and they return to buy more products, this is like a little reminder that displays so that they know to click the login button instead of creating a new account. They can just log into their existing account. Automatically generate username and customer email, and you can let them pick their own password, or you can check this and it'll automatically generate them a password. That might increase, lost password requests though. They might have to reset their password more often if you make them, automatically generate a customer password. I would just let them set their own. That way they can remember it. And then they've got the different endpoints again, so we can just leave those as is, click Save Changes, and that's everything for the accounts. So let's go on to emails. All right, so email settings are notifications that go out to you and that go out to the customers, so you can custom design these. So when somebody buys from your store, you will get an email When somebody cancels their order, you'll get an email. Failed orders, you'll get an email. And then customer emails, if the order's on hold where you have to manually approve it, then they're going to get an email letting them know it's been on hold. If their order's in processing or it's been completed, they get an updated email. If they get refunded, they'll get an email for that. There's customer invoice and order detail emails that automatically go out. Customer notes if they reset their password. So there's all kinds of different custom emails here you can go in, I believe, and modify. So this one lets them know when they created their new account. It sends them an email telling them their new account information. And then the from name, you can choose, what it says in the from column in their inbox. You could choose where it's the from address, so what email address you want to send from. So if you want to send from your domain, so if I made an email, support@scratchgolfmanual.com, then I would type that in here. So when they get the email, it would say Scratch Golf Manual, and then the address would be, the support email. Lastly, we've got email templates. If you want to add in like a header image or add in footer text, change different colors and text colors, and then click Save Changes. All right, lastly, the API tab here. So this is by default checked. We can go into the keys/apps. If you need to create an API key, so you're integrating WooCommerce with something, sometimes it'll ask you to generate like a WooCommerce key or vice versa. So this would be the area you'd go for those type of settings, but we're not going to get into that because there's no reason to do that right now. It's just if you're connecting like third-party applications to your WooCommerce, then you may have to come in here and do some of that more advanced stuff. So that's it for the WooCommerce settings that you can go through and customize. Once your settings are all customized and we started creating different products, now we can go on to designing our website so that the layout looks right, our pages look good. So next we're going to be going into the Avada theme options. Now if you installed a different WordPress theme, then you might have your own theme options page that's going to be different that you can go into, and you can start customizing things like the fonts. We can change different fonts. You can change your logo out. We can add different menu pages here that show up. People can click on to navigate your website. We can create a footer down here. We can update the copyright bar area down here at the very bottom. So there's lots of different things you can do inside your theme settings. It's going to vary depending on what WordPress theme you got. So this last step we saved because for those of you that do not purchase the Avada theme, there's really no reason for you to continue on watching the rest of this video. But for those of you that are using the Avada theme in combination with your WooCommerce store, we're going to show you now how to customize your website using the different Avada theme options settings and setting up pages using the Fusion Page Builder, which is that plugin that's required when you install the Avada theme to your website. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and move on now to phase 4, which is customizing the Avada theme settings and making your website look pretty. So starting with the layout tab, we want the default set to wide, and what that's going to do is make our website full screen. If we set it to boxed, then you would see some space here on the left side and right side that would be like a background color. So it'd be like black or gray or whatever color you make the outside of your website, and then your website would kind of be boxed in a little bit. So we want to go ahead and leave it wide. Site width 1100 pixels is fine. Now keep in mind this is the site width 1100. So what that means, when you're uploading, let's say if you're going to put in like a background image here that spans the entire page of the screen, you probably want an image that's at least 1100 pixels wide so that the quality of that image doesn't get blurry, because this is your actual site width. So make sure your images that are spanning the entire page of your website are a lot bigger. All right, boxed mode, if you want to control the top bottom offset, you can do so here. It's currently set to 0, but we're not in boxed mode, so we don't have to worry about the boxed mode settings. Page content padding, this is one thing where there's going to be some space here before your content of your page starts. So this is like 50 some pixels right here. And then sometimes when you create like a brand new page, we'll go ahead and open up a new page anyways because we're going to be creating it. There will be some white space before your page starts, and if it's hard to figure out where that's coming from, it's because you've got some automatic content padding here. This is your master settings, so you can leave this as is, but on individual pages, if you want to turn it off, you can just scroll down here within your page. So each individual page you're editing, maybe we don't want it, so we have to do it on a page level basis. So we can scroll down here to Fusion Page Options, and we can find the Page tab, and then Page Content Padding. It'll tell you by default your master settings are 55 and 40, so you can go ahead and put in 0 here, and we can put in 0 here, and that'll go ahead and remove any white space, so that if you've got like a featured image, it'll butt right up against your menu and there won't be this dead white bar here running across the page. So that's how you'd get rid of it on an individual page basis. 100% width, you want to give a little padding on the left and right side. So it's set to 30 pixels. We can leave that by default. That gives a little space here before content. That way, if people are looking at your website, they're not seeing text kind of running off the page here. It gives a little padding before the text starts. So that's what you want there, 30 pixels. And then if you have a sidebar, you can choose how wide your sidebar is. So it's set to 23%. So it would take up 23% of the page, and then the other 77% of the page would be your content. If you have dual sidebars, one on the left, one on the right, you can set those as well. So go ahead and click Save Changes, and that'll update the layout. So that's it for that. Next, let's go ahead and set up a menu. So the menu settings are right here. So what we're going to do in this case, we're going to have different product pages that we want people to go to. So we're going to come down here. In my case, this is how I'm going to set mine up. So in the menu bar, every time they click on a different menu item, it's going to take them to a different product page. Alright, so I've added a new product. We're just going to go ahead and give a couple titled products. So earlier we made the Breaking 70 program. Now we're going to make the Breaking 80 program, and we'll go ahead and do one more, and we'll call it the Breaking 90 program. Now I'm not actually going to go through and give it an image and fill out the descriptions and all that right now, because I've already shown you how to do that when we did the example one earlier. We're just going to go ahead and get these created so that the links exist. So sometimes when you click publish, it doesn't work right away on the first try, so I have to come back and hit publish again. But now we have this link created. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to copy this link. So scratchgolfmanual.com/product, and then it's / whatever the product's called, so Breaking 80 program. So we're going to copy that, and then we're going to come back in here under appearance, and you're going to find the menus. So go to your WordPress dashboard. Under your WordPress settings, you'll find appearance tab, and then earlier we were in the themes. Now we're going to come down here to menus, and we're going to open that in a new tab. So your website is going to have a lot of different tabs open at the same time, so that you're bouncing back and forth. So it's kind of confusing, but that's how I quickly navigate back and forth to different pages. I have a bunch of tabs open at once. So menu name, we'll just call it our product menu, and then we'll click create menu. It'll go ahead and refresh this page once it's generated the menu for us. Now we've got these different pages by default that are on our website. So you can click view all to see all your pages or most recent. So what pages should we put in our menu bar? So first off, if we can get back out here, our menu bar is up here. Right now it's blank. It's just this white bar up here other than our logo, which we're going to change out as well. So to add a menu here, we need different pages. So let's go ahead and give them a checkout. We'll give the home, and if you want to add in your blog page, you can add in the blog page as well. And then let's go ahead and click add to menu. Alright, that's going to add all three of those. Now we can rearrange them in any order. So right now we've got shop, blog, and checkout, so we can leave that as is. Now I also want to add individual product links into my menu bar. So we're going to come here to custom links. There's also this categories one if you want to look at all your categories. So if I wanted to send people to blog posts, I could set up different article categories and link those in my menu. But we're going to go ahead and use the custom links one. And then there's also this WooCommerce endpoints as well, but we don't want to add any of that. Now, if you did want to add like a login page to your menu bar, you could do so here. You could add like the log out feature, and I believe that would add it into your menu so they can log in or log out. Now, what we need to do is do a custom link. So go here, delete out this URL, and we're going to paste in that URL that I copied from my product. So this is the product link. And then I'm going to call this the Break 80 program, and then we'll click add to menu, And then we need to come back in here and repeat this. So we're going to copy the link for the Breaking 90 program and then come back into the menu. Go back here to custom links, paste in the Breaking 90 program, call it Break 90 program, click add to menu. All right, and then if we do one more, we created that Break 70 program earlier, so we can go ahead and add that one as well. So Break 70 program, click add to menu. Now to rearrange the item orders, you just hover over them until you get this little dragging tool, and you can sit here and drag them. So I'm going to drag this one up on top. So now it's going to show up in this order, shop, blog, checkout. Now I'm actually going to move checkout down here to the bottom. That way it's the last item in our menu. And I think we're going to move blog down there as well. We'll move blog right before it. So now we've got shop, which is our home page. We can rename that if we want. You can leave it as shop, or you can change the navigation label here in your menu and call it home, whatever you want. We're going to leave it as shop. We've got our product labels. We've got blog, checkout. So we'll go ahead and click save menu, and then let's refresh the page out here and take a look at what it looks like. All right, and one last step you got to do that I forgot to mention is click on the main navigation checkbox right here. So that'll turn this menu on as your main navigation. So then once that's checked, it'll show up as the main navigation, which is, the term for the menu bar out here. So we can go ahead now and click refresh, and it'll reload this page. You'll see a menu out here. So we've got the shop tab, we've got the Break 70 program, the Break 80, Break 90, blog, checkout. Now it also has our shopping cart here, and it's got a search icon. So we can turn these off if you want. I kind of like the shopping cart in case they need to go into their cart and add or remove items. And then I do like the checkout page, so they can just go direct to checkout right here, and it saves them having to go into their cart and then find the checkout button. And then here now, since I've added 2 more products briefly to my store, those automatically populated here on my home page. So as you add more and more products, they'll keep showing up here on your home page if you're using the default shop page that came with your WooCommerce when you installed it. But if you're using a custom built home page, you're going to have to manually add your products to your home page. So for example, I could show you the golf practice guides shop example that I built. So it's a custom home page that I designed myself. So every once in a while I update my store deals and give it new products. Okay, so here's the example page that I built for the golf practice guide shop. So it's custom built. I add my different store deals I'm offering. So I added in these different images with buttons, and then as they scroll down here, they can see all my products. And as they keep scrolling, we've got worksheets, ebooks. So everything here is all like a custom built home page. It's different than the actual, shop page that comes by default with WooCommerce that just adds your products here. So it depends on, how you want your layout of your store to look. If you like this, then it's easy. You just use the shop page as your home page, and it'll just populate different products. They can click on and look at your different product pages. They can click the add to cart button. So this is pretty cool too. Or you can have, a custom home page, and then the shop page could still be here in your menu if they wanted to come to this page. But you could also have a custom home page, that looks kind of something like this, where it's got just your like maybe a header area, a slider up here that's got different images that kind of like a slideshow. And then you could have like your featured products next, and then you could have like an email opt-in where they could sign up for a coupon. So you could have different custom things on your home page. So to do that, you would just come in here to add new page. So under the new tab, click on page. It opens up a brand new page editor, and we could call this, the home page or whatever you want to call it. And then you could fill out different fields here. So in this case, if we did call it home page, we want to click on the Use Fusion Builder button, and that's going to open up the Fusion Builder tool. So this is getting more advanced. This is all about building pages. So we're going to come back to that. Let's stick to the menu though for now. So right now we've got our menu items finally added in here. What we're going to do now is if we want to change the color or the size or the type of font, we need to go back into our theme options under menu. These are your master settings for your entire website. So main menu height right now is set to 84. So that's this tall height of the menu right here, this white space, that's 84. You can change it, but it'll tell you usually if you have a logo how big your logo is, and your height needs to be at least as big or taller than what your logo height is. And then we've got the highlight bar. So right now it's set as a bar. So that's this little green bar up here that you can't see too much of. You can change the width of it. So it's set to 3 right now. Item padding, 45 by default. That's how much space is between each of your menu items. So if we shrink it down, all of these words will get closer together. If we make it bigger, it'll get wider and wider apart. So it's just design preference. You can go through and make little changes to each of these to see how it affects the menu and what looks good to you. Now we've got drop-down menu settings. So let's say I had blog, and then when they hovered it, if there was a drop-down menu that had all my different categories to different blog posts, well, that would be where you'd edit those settings for your drop-down menu. Now down here, when we scroll all the way down, we've got main menu fonts settings. So we can choose the font family. I like to run with Carla for right now. There's other fonts out there, of course, and you can experiment looking around at all kinds of different fonts because there's so many options here, but Carla is one that I like to use for my menus. And we'll make our menu size a little bigger. It's set at 14 by default. We'll change it to 16 pixels. If we want to make our font bold, we could change it to bold. I'm going to leave it normal 400. And then you get a little preview down here of what the font looks like. Now font color or hover color, we can change. It's set to green right now. I'm going to go ahead and leave that as is. And then we can choose our drop down font size, our side navigation, and some other font settings. So we'll go ahead and click Save Changes. And all that's going to do is, change the font here from what it was to Carla. And then it's also going to make this font a little bigger. We've changed it to 16 pixels. So we'll go ahead and refresh the page to get that going. Now back in here, you've got flyout menu settings, a secondary top menu. If you've got another menu that sits on top of your main menu, some websites do it that way. That would be those settings. If you want to customize your menu based on mobile, you can fix all the mobile settings here. So you have one menu for your desktop, one menu for your mobile users. The main menu icons, let's go ahead and click on this. You can change, the different menu icon settings here. So if you want to give them different colors, different sizes. So back out here, we've got this little search bar in the cart. You could change these so they're no longer, black. You could make them green. Right now when you hover them, they turn green. You could make them bigger, but they look like they're a good size that goes with this menu. So you can see the font change now that the page refreshed. It got bigger. There's kind of big gaps here between the words. I don't like that so much. So what I would do is I'd go back into the main menu, and again we've got menu item padding, and we would shrink it down to, let's say, 32. You could click Save Changes, and then you'll have to come back out here, refresh the page again to see how those changes take effect. All right, responsiveness. Let's head into this tab next. So these settings you're not going to touch. You want responsive design turned on. It's just so that when people are on different devices, mobile, tablets, there are different types of cell phones have different sizes now. You want your website to be responsive and to fluctuate and shrink, and adjust itself to whatever device they're on so that things still look good. So this is a responsive theme, so you don't have to worry. Your website will look good on any device as long as this is turned on. And it gives different breakpoints. So right now the screen size is really big. It's over 1,000, but as I was shrinking down my browser, then my website appearance would start changing. So let's go ahead and shrink it down. So here's what it looks like full width, but as we start shrinking it down, you can see how things on the page are changing. And then once it gets down to a certain breakpoint, then it turns into like a mobile or tablet looking website where now the menu bar got rid of it and it turned into like a drop down tab here. So this is how it would look to mobile users. As you scroll down, all of the different products are kind of on top of each other instead of sideways. So all that's going to change. So like on a mobile phone, people would sit here and scroll down the page vertically, where on like a desktop, it's a lot wider, so things will show up more horizontal. So that's the biggest difference between mobile and desktop. So you can change the different settings to make sure things are right, but I would leave all these as is. Colors is pretty self-explanatory. You can go in and customize all the different color schemes for your website. Now the header area, this goes with the menu. So if we go into header content, you can see the menu style we chose for right now. It's just the straight across one with the logo and your menu. But you can choose these ones that have like a top menu that sits on top of your main menu. They've got different color schemes. Or if you like the mobile style menu, you can make that the same menu for your entire website. So no matter if they're on mobile or desktop, it'll look like this. They've got this one down here where the logo is in the middle, and they've got different menu items on each side. You can choose where your slider goes, so it can go below your menu or you could start off the page, with all your page content. So if you have a slider, which is like a big background image, and it could be like a slideshow, and then your menu would show up down here at the bottom. That's one way you could do it if you turn it on to above, but we'll just leave it as below for now. So that's where you can choose your header content, the type of header you're using. If you want to give your header a background image, right now it is set to white. You can give it a custom background image. On each page, you can choose if you want to change the menu settings. So remember, in our page editor, on some pages, you can make your menu transparent only for those pages just by adjusting the menu settings here in your actual page editor. But these are the master settings, so this is how it will look on every page by default. Header styling, this is where you can change the background color if you want to change it from white to something else. You can add padding to your header, but I'm leaving those as default for right now. And then sticky header is just if you start scrolling down the page, how the menu bar still shows up here. So even though I'm scrolling down, it's still visible. If I turn the sticky header off, the menu will disappear. When you start scrolling, it won't show anymore. So right now it's currently turned on. All right, so that's the header section. Logo is pretty self-explanatory. You upload a logo. Your logo needs to be the proper size before uploading it. Otherwise, if you upload a massive 800 by 800 logo, it'll actually take up the whole page here. So this logo is probably about 70 or 60, maybe less. I'd say 50 pixels tall, and it's probably 80, 90, 100 pixels wide. So logos are pretty small, maybe a 50 by 50 logo or a 60 by 80, something like that would work. So you could play around in Canva, building out different logos, resize it, and then upload it here under the logo option. So that's where you can choose your logo. You could choose different logos for mobile and desktop again. Page title bar, this is just this big title bar that's showing up right here. If that's ugly, and you want to get rid of it, you can go into the page title bar settings and turn it off for your entire website. And then if you want it back on for certain pages, again, you come here into the actual individual page editor, down here to the Fusion options, and you can turn on, that title bar right here. You can turn it back on if you want it on just for that page. But if you want to leave it off for your entire website, you come into the master settings and you can turn it off. All right, so then the sliding bar, we're not going to worry about. Footer, that's the content that shows up at the bottom of your website. So by default, you're going to have a blank dark space right here. This is where your different footer content's going to go once you actually add footer widgets. But right now we don't have any, so it's just blank space. So under your master settings, we can change how many columns we want in the footer. So by default, it's set to 4. You could turn your footer off if you don't want it at all, but a lot of times in the footer, people put their store hours, they put different links to different products, they might put a featured product, so you can put different things down in your footer and it'll show up on every page. So just like the menu shows up on every single page, the footer shows up on every page. So no matter what product page they're clicking into, the footer will still be there and it'll have that same content over and over no matter what page they're on. So that's why I usually leave it on, and I pick out different deals or different things I want to feature down in my footer that people can run into when they get down to the bottom of the page. So you can choose columns there. You can choose to center it on or off. You can choose any effect. We just have it normal, but if you want some kind of cool scrolling effect. And then the copyright area, all those settings are right here as well under the footer section in your settings. So the copyright information's down here at the very bottom. You could change what the text says by just editing, the text here in this box. You can turn it on or off. So that's the footer and copyright section. Sidebars, if you want to, create a sidebar. When somebody's reading your blog article, it might take up 2/3 of the page, and the other 1/3 over here would be a sidebar. So it's a space dedicated for whatever you decide to feature in your sidebar. So again, you could feature different products, different links to different categories of blog articles, different pages you want people to click on. That can all be over here in the sidebar. As they're scrolling down the page, they'll happen to see that as well. So that's where you could customize your sidebar settings as far as layout and design wise. Now actually customizing the footer and the sidebar, you have to go down into Appearance. So down here in Appearance, there's this tab called Widgets. We'll go ahead and click into it, and that's where you actually add content to your sidebar and to your footer. So right now your sidebar and footer are going to be blank until you go under Appearance to Widgets. Now in your theme options, what we were just doing was just doing the design settings. So font sizes, number of columns, different things like that. But the actual content, you have to go under appearance to the widgets, and you'll see the default stuff that's in your sidebar. So we can get rid of, meta by just dragging it out and it'll disappear. If we don't want the archives, we can drag it out. Recent comments. You could leave search if you want them to be able to search different products. Recent posts, it would show the top 5 most recent blog articles. Categories would show like your different blog post categories. I'm sure you could put product categories in here instead. And then same with your widgets. For your footer, you can open these up and drag in these different widgets. So you just scroll down the left hand side here. They've got lots of different widget options. You can look through and see which ones you want to stick into your footer. So going back here into the theme options, we'll continue on. All right, so next we want to customize font. We're going to do that by going here and we go to body or headers. So body is going to be your website, your web pages. Headers is like titles and things like that. So, all right, so if we open up the body tab, it's going to show you by default, it's set to PT Sans. So again, if I want to change this, I can take it all the way up to here where we should have Carla. And then we could choose the font style if we want it bold or normal, font size. So we can customize this and make it a little bigger again. Line height, which is like the spacing between, your lines. So if you've got like a big page full of text, you might adjust the different spacing so that your text isn't too clumped, but it's not too spread out. Font color, link color. If we want to make our links visible, we could turn it to like a bright color like blue. We'll leave font color like a gray. Click Save Changes, and then we can go in and you can repeat that for your headers. So again, headers are like different titles and stuff. So I think the product names right here, they might be using a header tag. So I think this is like a header 4. So you'd go in, if you wanted to customize your product links and what the text is, we could go in here to headers, and then we would go down here to like header 4, which I think is the one that controls the products. So if we pick some wild, we'll pick one called cookie, and we'll make it really big just so that you can test it and see that that's actually what it controls. So here's what it looks like, some crazy font. So we'll click Save Changes. And this is how you're going to be able to test whether or not the H4 is the actual the font for your products. So if I'm wrong, then this will still look the same, but if I'm right, this should change and it should look like some goofy font that we just switched it to. All right, so nothing changed there except the link color turned blue because we updated the link color to blue a minute ago, but the font still looks like, the same as it was. So I'm not quite sure. You're going to have to play around, maybe testing out some of these different header settings. There may be somewhere in here that tells what the font is for your products. There might even be a setting under WooCommerce where you can, WooCommerce styling. There we go. So this is where you can actually change your product fonts and things like that. So WooCommerce, once you install it, it has its own tab here under the Avada settings. So you can go down here and customize things for your store. You can choose different background colors of your product pages. You can turn off or on the 100% page width. You can choose if you want a box design. So lots of different settings to go through here that we're not going to cover right now. And then general, you can choose like the photo size. So the product photo sizes by default are set to 500 pixels. You can choose how many product columns. So like out here right now, we've got 3 columns running across. I'm assuming this is a 4-column page. There's probably one more column here that a product could fill into before it drops down to a brand new row. So if you've got a bunch of products, then you're going to have a bunch, 4 columns wide and then however many rows deep you are. So you can change that here by switching your columns from 4 down to, let's say, 3 or 2, whatever you want to decide. So lots of cool settings there you can check out as well. A few other things to note here. You've got blog settings if you want to change the layout of your blog page. So instead of doing like an infinite scroll page where people look at one article and scroll to the next and the next, you could set it up like a grid. So it shows like a grid of posts. So an example of that, if we go out to the Golf Practice Guides website, we'll show you that. Portfolio, I've never really used, but if you're an artist or something, you could have a portfolio of images and stuff to showcase. Social media, you can update the different icon settings for social media. We've got slideshows, elastic slider, and lightbox. You probably won't really need these. Contact form, you can use, and then Google Map if you want to show where your store is. If you're not just an online store but you have a physical store, you can update your address here in the Google Map settings, and then when you're inside your individual pages, you can add a little short code that's called Google Maps, and that will automatically paste in your Google Map information. We've got extra settings. Again, these you can go through. There's just a bunch of random settings that aren't too important, but you can go in and look at them and modify them as needed. Now, advanced is important. Code fields right here. This is where you're going to paste in your tracking code. So if you're going to track what your traffic's doing using Google Analytics, or I use Clicky Analytics, that way I can see what pages people are clicking on, how they're getting to the checkout page, things like that. I want to track that, so I would paste in my tracking code here under the code fields. So you just go down to advanced, and then that should be it. If you have any custom CSS, you can come down here to the custom CSS page, and then there's different Fusion Builder elements that you can customize the settings of those by default, so that when you import elements into your individual pages, they're adjusted the way you want them. So that's just a brief overview of all the different settings you can customize. I mean, there's so many different settings here to go through. I went through it kind of quick. You may still, need to go through it slower at your own pace to kind of learn everything, where everything is. But once you memorize where things are in your master settings, you can go in and customize them. Now, again, inside your individual page, you can change settings just for that page. I want to emphasize that again and again, because some people go change things in their master settings and then it messes up their whole website. I would set your master settings how you want your entire website to be, and then individual pages that you might want things to be a little different, you come in here under the Fusion page options down here at the bottom, and you can choose to turn on or off your header, so you can get rid of your menu bar. You can change your page content padding. You can put individual backgrounds for individual pages. By default, your website might have a white background, but maybe this page you want to have a red background. So I could come in here and make the background red just for this page. You could turn a title bar on or off just for this page. You could turn your sidebar off or on if you want it for this page. So all the individual page settings you can do down here. Now the Fusion Page Builder, this will be the last part of the Avada tutorial. So here we've got the Fusion Page Builder. It comes by default with the Avada theme. So we want to go down here to where it says container and add a new container. Now you can pick the columns. So kind of out here, how they broke it up into 4 columns, we could do a page like that that's got 4 columns. They'd be 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. Or in my case, my home page for my store, I did 1/3. So you can see 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, how that looks. And then there up here is a text box. So what we would do in that case is we could pick the 1/3, and now that leaves us these 3 boxes here inside this container. So the container kind of holds all of these together if we want to start a new container. So for example, let's say out here, this is one container that's got this dark gray background, and then I added in different image elements here into the 3rd columns. Well, then down here we've got a new container that's got a white background, right? So if I was duplicating this same page, I would just create a brand new container. This time I might pick the halves like I did out here. So up here we did 1/3 for this container, so 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, this whole container by itself. Now this is a brand new container with a white background, and these are 1/2. You can see there's only 2 columns this time instead of 3. So that's what I did there. So now if we're duplicating it, what I would do is we'd click on the element button to add an element to that particular 1/3. So we would want like an image. We could click on the image tab. We could upload a new image. So I would come here and click on my Breaking 70 image, click Insert into Page. If you want to make that image linkable, you scroll down here, you can align it so we can make it centered. And then if we want to add a link, we could add a picture link. So anytime they click on that image, it takes them out to whatever product page that image is linking to. So in this case, we could paste in the Breaking 70 program link. All right, so that's number 1. Now you could do that again. Click on Element, go here again to the image, and then we would upload an image. Click on this one. Let's say this said Breaking 80. If I had 3 different images right now, I don't, but we can pretend. And then to save time, if I wanted to, I could just clone it. So here's the clone button. So that will just automatically populate an image one, and then I could just go in here and update that image and pick a new image instead. That way I don't have to manually keep clicking on the image element. It's already there, and I could just change the image out. So that would be that. Now to preview, we can click on preview. Before we do that, the default template, we want to change this. I like 100% width pages. That's what I did out here on this store. So it spans the entire page. It's not in a boxed content look. So when we come back in here under page attributes, you could turn the template to 100% width. We'll click on preview. It's going to pop open a new tab to show you what your website would look like. All right, so we've got the menu up here. We've got a page title bar. Again, this is why I shut off page title bars in my master settings, because I don't like the look of it. And then we've got the content, which is basically stuck right against the page title bar. So that's where padding comes into play. Again, when I talked about adding different page padding, by default, your website is supposed to add, the 55 pixels, but since this particular page earlier, I went down here to the content settings and turned it to 0. Now I still want to leave it at 0 because what I do is I pad my individual containers. So out here, for example, you see this text here, there's some space above it, this white space, that's some padding. Same with right here at the bottom, we've got some gray padding here below my 1/3 column. So I like to pad my individual containers. So to do that, we just come here to this little brush. This is the edit icon. And then we're going to go to the design tab. And again, I'm going kind of fast. After you learn these basics, you're going to be a lot faster website editor. But there's a learning curve for me, especially to learn where everything's at. So click on that edit sign. It starts you off in general. Click over here to the design tab. It's always under the design tab. You'll see padding. By default, it's set to 0s. So we want to go ahead and give a little bit of top padding there. So we'll give it 30 pixels, and then at the bottom, we'll give it 30 pixels as well. Now you can test it out and come back in here and you can modify it. So if it doesn't look quite right, you can come back in here and keep changing the padding. So we'll come back out here, we'll click preview. It's going to just refresh the tab that I already had open. So we'll wait for it to refresh, and now you can see these bump down and we've got that 30 pixels of padding there. So that looks much better. Again, I'm going to go back in here to my Avada theme settings, and if we go where it said page title bar, let's see, where was title bar at? Page title bar, we'll click on that. I want to open this back up, and right now it's got show bar and content. I'm going to drop this down and click hide. So that's going to remove the page title bar in my master settings, so it'll get rid of it on all of my pages on my website so that it no longer shows up. So we can refresh this page again. And here we go. Now the page title bar is gone. We've got our menu, and then our container starts with a little bit of padding to give it a little bit of space. Now, if we want our menu line to be visible, there is a setting in your theme options for menu, or maybe it's under header styling. Let's check in here and see. So header shadow we can turn on, and then I'll go ahead and click save changes. So when we come back out here now, we can go ahead and refresh this page. It should add a little shadow or a little line here that shows separation between the menu and the page. So you can see this little gray shadow showing up here now. So that adds some dimension so that it's not all just one running into the next all white. But then again, like out here on my store page that I did already, I just made my container a dark gray so that you could differentiate between the menu and the start of my page. All right, so that's the first part there. And then again, you would do the same thing. You could add image elements here, and then you could give some padding to the container. So we'd go under here to design. We'd go down here to padding, and we'll give it some different padding. So this time, let's do 50 pixels, and we'll do 50 to give it a little more padding. Now for the container, you can give it a background. So instead of picking like a solid color, we could give it a background image if we wanted to. But I think for this container, we'll just make it blue. And then one other thing to note, it was already on transparent, so I need to go back there. Let's see what happened here. So container, go under the paintbrush, go under background, select color, we'll make it blue. And then we need to scroll this all the way back up so that it's 100% going to be blue, because before it had this all the way down here where it was transparent. So now that that's turned back up, we can go ahead and preview. All right, so here's the next container down. So if you ever see any blank space like this that you can't figure out why there's this random blank blue space here, odds are it's because in your page you already have a container that doesn't have any elements in it, so it'll just kind of hold the space for those elements until you add those elements in. Same with kind of how your footer is just this blank dark space here until you add in your footer elements. So that's why this container here is empty right now. It's just holding the space for us because we added in padding. So this is the 50 pixels of padding and the 50 pixels. So combined, this is about 100 pixels of padding since we padded the container. And then now if we go and start adding elements, so let's say we wanted to just copy this image again. So remember, there's the clone feature. I can hover and click on clone element, and then we can drag it down here into this box, and then we'll click clone and we'll drag the image over to this box. Now ideally, these are just placeholders for now, getting my layout set up. Then later I would go back in and customize each image element to have its own unique image. Right now it's all the same image because I'm just getting everything kind of in place, and then later we'll go back and update each one. So let's go ahead and refresh what it would look like. All right, so we've got the 1/3 columns showing up here with our images. We've got the background of the container as white. Now the second container we started working on, we did 1/2, and then we set the background to blue. So this looks kind of whack. So I mean, what I might do now is update my image sizes. So these are like the default image size that it came. So if I wanted to make this, bigger, then we could update the images. I'd have to create brand new images. So for example, these images down here are much bigger. So in my Canva settings, I'd create the images, this big to start with. Whereas these images we created, this size is a square. So I'd go in and probably create some brand new images that look better to take up more space on the page if I was doing things over. All right, now that we've covered how to use the container feature, how to add in your columns, and then you add elements inside of these columns, and we talked about going into the container and adding padding so that content is kind of spaced out and not all clumped on top of each other. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the other elements here. So click on the add element button and you're going to see all these different elements. So if you want to add in, like if you're creating your own custom home page and you want to add in some blog articles onto your home page, you could click on the blog element and then you can choose, how many blog articles you want the page to show. So you could show your most recent 3 posts. That's one option. So once you click on this blog element, then you can go in and edit the individual settings for this blog element. Same with once you added an image element, you had to come in here with the paintbrush for the edit, and you could go in and edit the individual settings for this image. So if we wanted to center it and we wanted to add a link to it, things like that, that's what you would do again for this. So we'd click on blog and then it would choose how we want the layout to show, how many blog posts per page. So you could change all the different settings for that element. Then if you want to create a button, so I've got different buttons out here, for example, that say learn more. You could do that by just clicking on this button element, and then it'll open up the settings. You can give the button a link. You can choose the design tab to give the button a different color, things like that. Change how big it is, if it's big or small, what the text says on the button. So these are some of the other element options that you have at hand. We've got blog, we've got a button, we've got checklists. If you're going to be pasting in code like an email opt-in form, when I get into my ConvertKit account, I copy the email opt-in code and I come paste it into a code block so that my opt-in forms will show up on my website trying to capture people's email addresses. There's other times you need to paste code in, like maybe a Facebook ad that you're tracking. You might have to paste in the pixel code. There's a code block there. Content boxes, those are ways to add in different content with icons. I don't use content boxes a whole lot. Instead, I just use general text boxes down here in the T's. So everything here is alphabetical order. So you can come down here to a text block, and that's how I add text into my page. So this was a text block where I wrote in step-by-step practice plans, and then I have a text block here that says the bundle plan, and then I have another text block here that has all this text. So they're kind of stacked one on top of each other. So an example of how I would do this, going back into the page editor, let's go ahead and cancel out. So I have my product image, then I want a text block to show up. So I'd come here to text box and we could type in the name. So let's call it the Break 70 plan. We can center it. We can change the size. If we want to make it bigger, we could choose like heading 2. We can make it bold, click save. Now we're going to choose our next one. We'll go again, grab another text block. This time you can type out a paragraph. So improve your golf scores. Click save. Now by default we can preview it and they should give it some spacing, but if it doesn't, what you're going to have to do is add a little space separator. So it already gave it some space by default. Now this one's kind of on top of each other, these two, the break 70 text box and the image box. They're way too on top of each other, way too close. So what we're going to do here first, we're going to go ahead and center this so that it looks better. Click save, come back in here to our elements, and there's one called separator that'll give you some separation. So we're going to leave it as no style so that there's nothing that shows up, because by default it's going to be like a line, which you could do if you like that look. It'd be like a line that separates them, but I just want it to be invisible space. So no style, click on design, and then give it some margin. So we'll give it 15, we'll give it 20 pixels. So 20 pixels of space. It doesn't matter which one you put it in, you know, it's as long as this you've got some in there. So that's 20 pixels of space. Now we're going to separate between the image and our first text box. So we stuck it in between the two. Now when we click preview and it refreshes that page, you're going to see, you know, some space, and they're no longer going to be on top of each other. So here's the space we just added in, and then these two already have space by default. So that's good. We don't have to add a separator between them, but images for some reason like to get right on top of the text boxes there. Alrighty, so that's that. Everything looks good there. And then lastly, I could add in a button element, and that would kind of replicate what I did out here, how I had my image, and then I had the name of the product, I had a little bit about the product, and then I had a button. So that's all you would do. You would just come in here to your page editor and stack them one on top of each other. So first element's your image element, a separator element, and then a couple text boxes, and then a button element, and all those would go together in that 1/3 column, which is what you see out here. This 1/2 column has all these different elements in it. So it's kind of confusing, but this is how you custom build your own pages. You have to choose your container, your columns that you want for your page, what elements you want to go inside of those columns, and you just have to keep clicking the preview over and over and over to look at what things look like out on your website until it looks good to you. Once things look good, you keep hitting the update button, and it'll keep saving your changes. And then once you get it all done, you'll have a page that's ready to go, that's custom built, that looks, you know, something like this. So that's a little tutorial of how to use the page builder and the elements. And then of course the big one is learning how to go into the container and add padding, because a lot of people get confused, you know, how to adjust the spacing that's above and below the content in those containers. So that's the big thing to remember, is go into that container settings and add different custom paddings. Alright, to rearrange containers, you can just click on it here and it'll drag and drop. So you can drag it down here below this container. If I wanted to switch these out and make this container go on top first, you could just drag them around. And then again, any settings that I need to change, go here in the page attributes, 100% width, and then down here at the bottom, Fusion page options. We can customize any other settings for this page that we need to. Once it's all built, we just click publish or update, and then that page is ready to go. We can change the link here, we can change the title, and then if you ever need to, you can click on use default editor. It's going to switch everything to code. So if you had to come in here and, you know, do like copy all of this, if you're going to try to duplicate this page, you could copy all this code and go paste it into a new page. And then once you click the use Fusion Builder, it regenerates everything back to normal. So that's one other thing you could do as well. You could also save a page as a template. So you can go into library here and give it a name and save it as a template. That way you could keep using this same layout over and over again, and then you could just change out the content of it. So that way you don't have to spend time rebuilding it all again. They've also got demo themes. So if we go back here into our Avada tab here, so come over here to the Avada tab, see the drop down menu. There's one called demos. You can import demo pages. That way you don't have to worry about building out these pages yourself from scratch. It'll give you pre-designed, pre-built pages. So you can go through here and look at all these different options. If you're running a store, I believe they've got one here for you. So let's scroll down here. They've got classic shop here, so we could click preview, and it'll open up an example store that they built, and you could just, you know, import all the settings and everything, and then you could customize it. So here's what it would look like. They've got a slider here that people can go through these different slideshow images. It's got different buttons they could click on to take them to different product pages. They have a featured product section here with tabs where you can navigate. So if like you're a clothing website, you can have men's, women's, accessories. So this is getting real advanced, you know, using these demos. That it'd be way too hard probably for you to custom build yourself. unless you have lots of experience. So designing, a website that looks like this would probably take a long time to do yourself. So save yourself time and headaches. You could just import this demo and just start customizing it. So again, when you go to customize it, you're going to go into the page editor, which it looks like the page editor we were just on, and you're going to basically see the same thing. You're going to see 1/3 columns, you're going to see images, you're going to see text boxes, you're going to see button boxes, everything that I just showed you. It's just all going to be there like auto generated. They've already built it for you. You just go into each individual element and you can customize what the text says or what image you're using. So you just go in and make modifications, but they're going to automatically give you the layout, as part of installing that demo. So that's one thing you could do. You just hover over it, click on import, and then it's going to ask you which things you want to import. So you can import everything, but if you do this, it's going to change your theme settings. So we just spent all that time here under the Avada tab under theme options, and I showed you all these different theme options down the left-hand side here. So we just set up all the different custom settings for our website. So before you waste time doing that, first decide if you're going to use one of these demos. Because if you use one of these demos and you want to import their theme settings, what fonts they're using for the menu bar, see how it's blue instead of like green. They've got drop-down menus. All these different settings they've already done for you. You're going to be importing. So once you click import and you decide to go with that demo, realize it's going to change your theme settings. So if you spend all that time changing theme settings and then you come here and you import a new theme demo, it's gonna, that's gonna be wasted time you spent doing all those theme settings, because you're just gonna delete them and it's gonna replace them with all the new settings for the demo. But you don't have to do theme options. You can leave that one unchecked if you want. That's that one right there that's gonna change all your master theme settings. If you just want to import all the images, all the sliders, all the widgets, pages, posts, products, all these, you can leave theme options unchecked if you don't want to do that. Otherwise, it'd be easiest just to click on the all button and it'll import everything for the demo. So that's about it. That's about all I can think of right now for this tutorial on how to set up an e-commerce store. To kind of recap real quick to see if I'm missing anything. So I showed you how to go into your theme options and basically, change all the fonts, change all the colors, change out your logo. I showed you how to go into the individual page editor and actually build out these pages. We showed you how to go under the appearance tab. So let's hop back over here to your WordPress dashboard. And when we scroll down here to the appearance, which is the little paintbrush, there's the menus tab and widgets tab. So you can add widgets to your footer, to your sidebar. You can add things to your menu, different pages that you want out here. So we gave it these custom pages. And then you can choose to get rid of these icons. You would do that in your Avada theme options. In your menu settings, you can turn off these icons if you wanted to. So that's everything for the menu. That's everything for the page we talked about. Sidebars, footers. We've got automatically a checkout page by default. We can go ahead and open that up to look at it. But this is going to come when you install the WooCommerce plugin. So it's going to say your cart's currently empty. So if we added a product, so let's go back here. All right, so out here on the home page, we'll click on this add to cart button here. And then it gave us a little check mark. So it's now added to our cart. So we can hover cart here and it's got a little drop down. So this is kind of how your customer experience will be when they're on their website. So they'd see your products, they'd click on one. If they wanted to, it'd open it up and they could look at the product page itself, or they can just directly add it to the cart here. So when they open up the product page, they'll see the add to cart button above or below the short description. There you got the product image. And again, you can go into your theme options here and we can scroll all the way down to the WooCommerce tab and change the different settings. So back out here, if we wanted to make the image size default to a smaller size, so right now it's really big, we could change those settings and this could get a lot smaller. That way, it's more visible on the whole entire page. But they check out your product, they read it, they can come down here and see reviews. They click add to cart, boom, it redirects them to the cart page. So now it opens up the cart page. So let's just go through an example of what your customer would go through. So in this case, it would say you have one item in your cart. They could see the item, they can click the X to get rid of it. They could add more if they wanted to. So if they're buying like clothes or something, they could add more quantity. Promotional codes, if you run coupons, which again, come in here to your theme options under the WooCommerce tab. Here's coupons. You can set up coupons and that will, be what you display. And I showed you earlier how to do that, to make a little banner show up at the top of your website, letting people know you're running a promotion. They could get that code off that banner and enter it here, apply coupon, it would update the cart totals, and then they can click proceed to checkout. So now it's going to take them over to the checkout page, where it's going to give information up here. So you're going to need to customize this information in your settings. Again, in your WooCommerce settings, you could add in your customer service phone number, your email that you want them to be able to locate if they need to contact you about an issue with their order. So go into your WooCommerce settings, update that information, and it'll show up here. And then as they scroll down here, it's going to ask their billing details, so they can fill out these fields. They'll click continue. It'll take them to the additional information, review, and payment tabs. So these are the different tabs they have to go through. If you want to just make it a checkout page that's just one page that doesn't have all these different fields, I think there's a setting for that. There's also a plugin. So we haven't really talked about plugins yet in this tutorial, so that's one thing I'm kind of missing. We'll come here to plugins, click on add new. Plugins add different cool features to your website that your website doesn't come with on its own. So in this case, going back out here to the checkout page, we don't want these different tabs. That's too many steps. Maybe we want them just to go direct to a checkout page where they can enter their payment information, buy the product, and move on, because the longer the checkout process is, the more chances they have of dropping off and not buying that product. So plugins are cool because you can do these types of things. So we could do one like direct checkout, and we'll just see what comes up for that. We might have to type in the name WooCommerce to see what all WooCommerce extensions. But direct checkout, that brings up WooCommerce direct checkout, so we can install this plugin. Click the install button. Once it gets done installing, you have to activate the plugin to actually turn it on. So it's installed to your website now. To turn it on, we click activate, and that will turn that on. And then you can go into those settings. If there's some settings, we'll see. First, let's go ahead and refresh the page and see if it just naturally did it by default. If not, we're going to have to go into the settings for that plugin. So it didn't change anything yet. So let's go back in here, and we can see a list of plugins. So far, we installed the Fusion Builder, Fusion Core earlier when we first bought the Avada theme. And then by default, some of these other plugins come with your WordPress site, so you can delete them if you're not going to use them. Like this one, the spam one, the Hello Dolly one, I don't need. And then Jetpack we don't really need, but that's turned on, so we can't do anything with it yet. So let's go ahead here and click on the two that we check marked. So Hello Dolly and the spam one. Then I can come up here and click on bulk actions, click on delete, and it will start deleting both of those plugins. So that's how you delete plugins. You can just click the delete button here, or if you want to bulk select them and then come up here to bulk actions. So I just did that. That deletes them. If you need to update them, plugins come out with new updates. You need to keep your plugins updated. That's one important thing to do. That way it doesn't break your website if the plugins aren't outdated. So those are the default plugins it comes with. We've already installed WooCommerce Direct Checkout. So let's go into the WooCommerce settings, and now you'll find the Direct Checkout right here. It didn't have before, but now I added this line in here since we installed the plugin. So we can open up the settings. So we want to go ahead and enable it. Add Continue Shopping button. We can customize what our cart text says. So right now it just says add to cart, but you can customize what it says. And then you can choose a redirect page that they can automatically get redirected to. Click Save Options. While that's saving, let's head back out here to our checkout page now, and we'll go ahead and refresh this page and see if those settings took effect. All right, so nothing's really changed. It's still showing me these different pages here. So I'm not quite sure exactly what's going on, because I do want to get rid of all these different billing details, because they don't necessarily need to enter all their information here. So let's go ahead and try this again. Let's click on checkout. Sometimes you have to refresh the page for it to take effect. All right, so that's something that's not working right now. So I'm gonna have to go into the settings and try to figure that out. Again, you're gonna have to probably go into your WooCommerce, either your settings for WooCommerce, or if we go into like the Avada theme options page, which we got over here, we can go into WooCommerce. So let's go in and look at some of these WooCommerce settings. Maybe there's something I'm missing in here. So we've got 12 products per page before it makes them have to click on a new page. Columns, it was set to 4 columns. We've got upsells, you can set to 4 columns. archive. We've got a product gallery slider turned on. Product gallery size, I might make this smaller, like 400. Product gallery thumbnails 4. Gallery zoom turned on. Shop page orderings turned on. Crossfade turned on. All right, WooCommerce one-page checkout. Here we go. So that's turned off. So all we do here is turn it on. Click Save Changes. Let's see, if you want to add the My Account link in your main menu, you can turn that on. Right now, we've got the cart icon in the main menu that's turned on. So again, out here, you see the cart icon. If you want to turn it off, you go into your WooCommerce settings and you can turn that off. So let's go ahead and refresh now that we turned on the direct one-page checkout, and it should get rid of these tabs and make it all one page. So there we go, that worked. Now we've got just their billing details they can fill out. We've got the Your Order, so after they fill out their billing information, and then they've got PayPal here, so they continue to payment, and it's going to take them over to PayPal where they make their final, they log into their PayPal, make their final purchase, and then it redirects them back to your website. All right, so I think that's it for this big in-depth tutorial. For those of you that stuck it out, watched the entire thing, I really applaud you for sticking it out. I tried to kind of shorten this up. This could have been a much, much longer tutorial if I was really going in depth on everything. But I think we pretty much have covered everything. The biggest thing is, buying your hosting, installing your domain name, getting logged into WordPress here. And then you can start off by going down here to the settings and updating all 6 pages like we talked about earlier, your general settings, setting different pages you want to show as your home page and your blog page under the reading settings. Fixing your media settings, and then your permalink structure we changed. So go under settings, get that stuff set up, go under users, edit your profile information so that it's up to date, add yourself a little bio, and then once you get done with your basic WordPress settings, you can start optimizing your website. So we can install a theme, we can add a menu, we can add widgets to your sidebar, your footer area. And then to actually customize your theme, you have to go into whatever theme you install. There should be a theme options for whatever theme you're using, and you can start learning how to customize the settings for that theme. We're using the Avada theme, so once we installed it, it had its own tab here, and we went to theme options to start customizing it. But before that, we had to register it. We had to, install the necessary plugins to use the theme. And then you could import demos if you wanted pre-set up websites that save you a lot of time and headaches. So that's all one cool thing about the Avada theme. If you decide to use the Avada theme, you can go to asknickfoy.com/Avada. And then after that, we just started setting up custom pages by going to the Pages tab here. You could set up, a home page. You could set up an About page, a contact page, any pages you want your website to have. Any blog posts, you come here under Posts. Add new blog articles, start typing out your article and publish it to your blog. If you need to import, delete, edit any images, you can go here to your media library. And then WooCommerce, you install the WooCommerce plugin. You'd have to go under plugins to find it, type in WooCommerce, install it. It came automatically with the Avada theme. We just had to click the install button. And once it's installed, it comes with these 2 tabs here where we can start adding products to our store. We can start customizing the settings for WooCommerce. And then again, since I have the Avada theme, they added a little section under theme options for WooCommerce. So the Avada theme and WooCommerce work hand in hand together. That's one thing I like about the Avada theme and why I went with it. So you can come under the settings here called WooCommerce inside the Avada theme options and start changing things like direct one-page checkout, how you want different icons to show up in your menu bar, things like that. And then here's where you customize that text that shows up on your checkout page, so you can enter in your email, phone number that people can find so they can get a hold of you if they have an issue with their order. Once people buy products, you come back here into WooCommerce under orders, and you can customize or edit changes to orders. So if people want refunds or something like that, or if you have to approve orders. Now, one thing I will note we need to talk about is auto confirming orders. So every time somebody buys from your store, you're going to get an email notification, and then you're going to have to log in and approve that order. Now, to avoid this headache, if you want orders to automatically approve on their own, now if you're running like a physical store, like where you've got inventory, you might like that approve order thing, because if you're out of inventory, you might decline the order or, send them back an email saying, sorry, we're out of inventory right now. But if you're a digital product, where they're just downloading an ebook or something, then you want that to get auto approved because you don't want people to get held up waiting on you to log in. You might not log in for a week, and that might cause somebody to miss out on getting their ebook for a week. So to fix that, we'll go to plugins, we'll go to add new. Again, plugins are cool features you can add to your website to make modifications, to add things that are causing you issues you can fix. So for in this case, we want auto complete orders. We'll type that in and see what different plugin options come up, and there should be one that goes with the WooCommerce. So right here, there's a couple different ones. WooCommerce auto complete orders. We'll click on the install now button. Once it installs, you have to turn it on again by hitting activate, and that'll activate it. And again, I'm going kind of fast here, but under WooCommerce, we're going to have to go back under settings. All right, so go under extra options here inside your WooCommerce settings, and now it added in the autocomplete order section. So right now it's turned off. We want to turn it on to any order, or you can choose these other settings if they fit you, but we're going to click any order. So anybody that buys from my store, their order is automatically confirmed and completed. So I get the money, they get the product, everybody's happy instead of them waiting on their product to come to them because you have to manually approve it. We want to turn that off. We want to turn on auto order completion. That way it automatically gets approved. They automatically get access to download that product. So once that's turned on, you click Save Changes. You now don't have to worry about logging in anymore and approving orders. So if you get a bunch of sales each day, it's just going to happen on autopilot. All right, so that is everything. I keep saying, running through a checklist and I keep remembering things, but I think this is it. That's everything you need to know to build your e-commerce store. We've covered the basics. We've covered some advanced steps. We've covered the Avada theme, if that's the theme you go with. And overall, if you enjoyed this tutorial and you stuck it out, I appreciate you by leaving, a thumbs up button and leaving a comment below of, some praise or some things you learned today, just to let me know this was a good tutorial. And if not, I can remake a new tutorial in the future trying to do better. But overall, it was a lengthy tutorial. We covered pretty much everything that I can remember and think of that I use to set up my stores for my other websites. And I think we've got you everything you need to get started and get your store going. And in the other videos on my channel, if you're just making a basic business website that's not actually a store, you just want a normal general website, you can use a lot of the same tips we covered today, just exclude the WooCommerce part because the WooCommerce part had to do with the store. But otherwise, you can just go in and use the page builder to build out custom pages like a normal website. I've also got other website tutorial videos on my channel that you can check out. So let's go ahead over to YouTube now. All right, so if you come over to YouTube, you type in Nick Foy TV and you go here to my channel. Right now, we just hit 1,300 subscribers, so I would appreciate if you hit that subscribe button before you leave today. That helps me out. We keep growing at a fast pace. Just a month or two ago, we were at only 400 subscribers, and we've already tripled to 1,300 at the time of this video. For those of you coming to this video later, it's probably going to be fun for you because you're going to be able to see that my subscribers are much bigger than they were at the time of this video. But please hit that subscribe button to help me out. And here we've got playlists. Again, you can check out our playlists and you can see all the different categories. So if you want more WordPress tutorials to learn WordPress in a more in-depth, one-by-one video, this was kind of a general summary video today, but go into the WordPress. We've got 55 tutorials right now at the time of this video. Here under WordPress themes, I cover the Avada theme more in depth in some of those videos. We've got blogging tips, Pinterest tutorials, email, website traffic growth, how to get people to your website, these strategies, as well as Pinterest sends a lot of traffic to my websites. I also send traffic to my website that come from my email newsletter, so I link to different articles and products that people click on in my emails. We've got SEO tips, Facebook ads, Instagram tutorials. I even get into some investing because I do that on the side in addition to running my online business. And I vlog a little bit when I go traveling, so you're going to see some more travel videos coming soon. So thanks so much for being here, for stopping by my channel, for giving me your time and attention, taking time out of your day, to learn from me. It means a lot to me. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications with the little bell symbol here, and I'll see you guys in the next training video. We are uploading videos every week to the YouTube channel, so I'll see you guys around.